Chapter 547. In the middle of the field, Yuan shook his body and shook off the sticky flames. He forced a smile and said, "When I noticed that you were using Emperor Yen force to propel Scorch Punch instead of alternating with Ice Spirit force, I should have guessed that you had mastered Flying Moth. Sigh, I was too careless." After all, Lu Qing had only joined the club for less than a week. I haven't formed the concept of him mastering more Fire Sect secret arts. That's why I was at a disadvantage. Tu Zheng nodded and said he didn't use Ice Force to lower the temperature, slow down the speed, and control it. He kept stacking Scorch Punch. Even if you didn't think of Flying Moth, you should be more careful. There must be something fishy going on. Seeing that they were reviewing and summarizing their gains and losses, Lu Qing pondered and said, "I had a problem with the way I changed the direction of jet spray. I shouldn't have just dodged and dodged. At that time, it might have been better to counterattack and use offense as defense. Yes, forcing jet spray to change to defense was the best choice. It's very important to grasp the rhythm and take the initiative." Tu Jing gave a rather pertinent comment. Lu Xiaofei, Sun Jianlin, and Jia Lu joined in and discussed the details of the battle. Lu Qing seemed to have gained a few new perspectives and gained more experience. Cultivators often say that money, companions, techniques, and land are not a lie. He sighed to himself. No money? How can you practice martial arts if you don't have money? You can't even keep up with the nutrition. At the initial stage of body forging, one had to at least ensure that they ate enough meat every day. Otherwise, sooner or later, they would pee blood and their body would collapse. It was only because of the abundance of resources in the modern society that many people could practice martial arts as they wished. If it were in ancient times, it wouldn't be so easy. They could only wait for their talents to be discovered and nurtured. No training companions? No good opponents? Then it would be inevitable that they would not be able to see Mount Tai. The higher they went, the more they would fall into bottlenecks and eventually come to a standstill. Although Tu Zheng and Yuan weren't good friends, they could still feel the effects of the brainstorm of martial artists of the same level from this sparring session. As for the cultivation method, it was definitely indispensable. If one wanted to rely on one's own strength to create something out of nothing and open up a path that was not inferior to the results of the hard work of generations of predecessors, it was inevitable that it would be wishful thinking. Even a freak like the martial sage would only be able to create something after the Thunder Sect cultivation method had been mastered. Only by standing on the shoulders of giants could one see higher and see further. In modern society, land was inseparable from wealth. What volcano laboratory? What ice sect simulation environment? How could ordinary forces afford it? While thinking, Lu Qing saw that the sparring session had ended. He returned to the training room of the dance stage and continued to study and practice his unique skills. Yuan watched as his figure disappeared into the doorway. He sighed with a hint of envy. Encountering gods in the void, self-reflection. That's really something. Up until now, I've only been able to use Flying Moth during practice. Once it's in a real battle, I can't use both at the same time. In less than a week, he had mastered Scorch and Flying Moth. The speed. Sun Jianlin shook his head. Lu Xiaofei said self-deprecatingly, "A few days ago, I was still saying that I would strive to not be caught up by Lu Qing within a year." The words were still ringing in my ears, and he had already displayed the standard of a genuine fourth pin. Seriously, Sai, this is normal. To the heavenly sons of the era, it's normal for them to advance one pin in a year before reaching physical invulnerability. Compared to Lu Cheng's previous improvement speed, this is already very normal. We can only learn to accept it. Yuan sighed and smiled. Luckily, he will reach the threshold of physical invulnerability in the next stage. It won't be that fast anymore. There will definitely be a bottleneck. Tu Zheng had been silent all this while. At this moment, he asked thoughtfully, "During this period, Lu Qing has been in the training room from morning till night?" "That's right. Other than resting from 11 a.m. to 12:30 a.m., he's always in the training room. It's not unreasonable for him to master Scorch and Flying Moth in less than a week." Yuan said with a sigh. "Others were more talented than you, more restrained than you, and worked as hard as you. It was simply despairing. At the very beginning, he had thought that Lu Cheng had neglected his training and relied entirely on his talent. Speaking of this, Yuan looked at Tu Zheng and forced a smile. Leader 2, don't worry. You are already close to physical invulnerability and have reached the realm of encountering gods in the void. The next step is to make the great leap and become a true mighty one. At that time, no matter how fast Lu Cheng improves, it will have nothing to do with you and won't affect you. Tu Zheng was silent for a few seconds before laughing out loud. This is actually pretty good. With a strong opponent chasing behind me, I can improve faster. I still have a little more than a year to go before I reach 30. If I can't make the great leap, then my hopes will be slim. Now is the time for me to fight with my back to the wall and burn my boats. Although there were examples of Liang Yifan reaching physical invulnerability in his 30s, there were only a handful of them. 30 was still the threshold of physical invulnerability. One had to make a name for oneself early. Physical invulnerability experts were all in their prime. In the assistant team's office, Sun Tingting, who was wearing a pair of sunglasses and exquisite makeup, swaggered back to her seat. She opened the work group chat and tagged the deputy manager of the technical team. Compile the recordings of the reserve team's sparring session as soon as possible. They are rushing us. To just end it. Wiping cold sweat expression, replied the deputy manager of the technical team. At this moment, a lady in the foreign affairs team asked excitedly, the sparring session ended? Who did Lu Cheng fight with? What was the result? Although it was a work group, everyone was rather interested in such matters and often gossiped together. He fought with Yuan and won. Sun Tingting pouted. Yuan, the senior fourth pin who retired from the military? Lu Cheng is amazing, and he's not even 22 years old yet. He still has a total of 8 years to reach physical invulnerability. As expected of the heavenly son of the era. Endless potential. Amin and Huang Bin were watching the discussions in the group. They felt excited and pressured at the same time. They couldn't help but look around the office and realized that many of their colleagues were deep in thought. In the end, they looked at each other. It was as though sparks were flying when their gazes collided in midair. However, for the next few days, Lu Cheng followed his routine and didn't miss a single meal. He didn't arrange for additional transportation and left them with no place to show their prowess. They could only make use of the opportunity to exchange pleasantries and show concern for Leng Yuan to strengthen their impression of him. On Monday afternoon, Lu Cheng didn't go to the training room. Instead, he followed Tu Zheng, Lu Xiaofei, and the rest to the big conference room in the southwest area. The setup here was similar to a classroom, but there was enough space for practice. This was the weekly physical invulnerability class. Coach Lu Yen and martial arts fanatic Guijie weren't present. Dragon King Chen Qitao, Empress Luo, Ning Zitong, and Optimus Prime Long Zhen were present. They sat in a row at the head of the table. It was Lu Cheng's first time here. He had only practiced the Fire Sect's dance stage chapter for a week. Furthermore, he had the notes of his predecessors for reference. He only had 1 or 2 questions, so he wasn't in a hurry to ask them. He listened quietly at the side. From the interactions between Tu Zheng, Yuan, and the rest with the physical invulnerability mighty ones, he was able to understand many things by analogy and broaden his horizons. No wonder Sister Ning said to try not to miss it. This is the benefit of being in a strong position. Seeing that the class was coming to an end, Lu Cheng stopped being modest. He stood up, raised his hand and greeted politely. The 36th move of the Fire Sect, Devour, is a high-level application of Emperor Yen Force. From the notes of our predecessors, the focus is on contraction and weight. When it reaches a certain level, it will naturally produce flashes and flames. However, I still can't find the critical point. Is there a problem with the technique? Hearing this, Chen Qitao, who had been keeping a straight face, stood up slowly. He walked to the center of the field, clenched his fist, and punched forward. Just as he raised his right fist, the surrounding airflow was ignited. Wisps and wisps of airflow were clearly organized, showing the flow of Emperor Yen Force in his body. Wisps of flames condensed and contracted on the surface of the Dragon King's fist. They kept compressing and becoming ridiculously heavy. With a boom, a blazing white light exploded, dazzling the eyes. Lu Cheng, Yu Wangyuan, and the rest felt as though they were being swallowed by the flames. They could no longer see or feel anything else. If they were to take a direct hit, other than the flash, they would also be hit by the shockwaves and flames. Retracting his fist, the Dragon King looked at Lu Cheng and asked in a low voice, "Do you understand now?" "Understood." Lu Cheng answered blankly. The previous scene was still fresh in his mind. Wait a minute, this is no different from the description of the martial arts or the notes. What the Dragon King is saying is that you can't find the critical point because you are too weak. Then I should understand now. Lu Cheng thought awkwardly. While he was answering, Qin Chitao had already left the conference room with his hands behind his back, announcing the end of the class. For the next few days, Lu Cheng tried to use his Dan equilibrium to forcefully guide the contraction of Devour and achieved good results. After that, he eagerly began to master the new unique skill. On Friday afternoon, he came to the training ground of the reserve team in an extremely good mood. It was time for sparring again. Moreover, Little Fairy would be returning from America that day. After spending a few days with the elders of both sides, she would fly straight to Huaqing. Lu Cheng casually picked up a paper ball and saw the word, 2, written on it in bold strokes. "Who's in the second group?" he asked with a smile. "Me." Tu Zheng chuckled and opened his palm, revealing a piece of paper with the word, 2. Chapter 548. The lot drawing ended quickly. The first group was Lu Xiaofei versus Yu Wangyuan. The second group was Lu Cheng versus Tu Zheng. Sun Jianlin and Jia Lu were the last to enter the arena. After entering the arena and closing the thick glass door, Jia Lu jumped a little and waved her short sword. She was excited and exclaimed, "That's fast. It feels like only 2 to 3 days have passed since the last sparring session. It's pretty tight. Sometimes I wonder if it would be better to have sparring sessions once a month." Sun Jianlin slowly stretched his muscles and bones. Popping sounds came from all over his body. Tu Zheng shook his head. "That would be too long. If we don't apply the lessons we learn to actual combat, we will forget them very quickly. It's true that we won't have any substantial improvement in a week. However, we can use this opportunity to examine the problems that were hidden by our rapid improvement." "That's not a problem, but why do I feel like I've been shot in the knee?" Lu Cheng laughed silently. "Leader 2 is right. I feel like I'm stronger and more mature than last Friday." Lu Xiaofei rubbed her hands together and said eagerly, "I'm also not the same person who lost to Lu Cheng last Friday. I'm more cautious and stronger." Yu Wangyuan added with a smile. It was only an internal sparring session. It was inevitable that they would be careless. Everyone seems to have a lot of fighting spirit and confidence." Tu Zheng laughed loudly. He walked to the center of the arena and acted as the temporary referee. Lu Xiaofei and Yu Wangyuan stood on his left and right respectively, with a distance of more than 20 meters between them. "This atmosphere is pretty good," Lu Cheng praised from the bottom of his heart. "Yeah, as long as we don't eat together and fool around, I still like this kind of life. It's very suitable for practicing martial arts. Of course, it's another matter if I'm lonely and can't sleep well after returning home. Cuckoo would be here soon." There was no time for conversation. The match started quickly. Lu Xiaofei and Yu Wangyuan couldn't be more familiar with each other. Every time they tested each other, they would engage in an intense exchange of fire. The scene was gorgeous. If the spectators closed their eyes, they would feel like they were in a battlefield filled with cannon fire. Yu Wangyuan had obtained his 4th pin certification earlier than Lu Xiaofei. He was more mature, but his fighting style was more aggressive. It was more in line with the gist of trueness of fire-like invasion, and he firmly controlled the rhythm. Lu Xiaofei, on the other hand, was calm and composed, like a burning red flame. Although she was at a disadvantage, she did not panic. Finally, she caught the problem in the opponent's connection and launched a counterattack. Switching from defense to offense, Lu Xiaofei demonstrated her shocking explosive ability to Lu Cheng and the rest. Her sacrificial explosion and force concentration stage ignited a prairie fire. Every step she took was firm and steady, Every move she made closed in, forcing Yu Wangyuan to bring out his trump card in advance. It was the Purple Sun that he hadn't been able to use in his battle with Lu Cheng last week. The 11th move of the Fire Sect, Purple Sun. A simplified physical invulnerability move, Purple Sun. This was a move that was both offensive and defensive. Its execution speed would not be faster than the internal explosion used by martial artists of the same realm, but it was a close-range defensive move. Even if there were not many openings, it could still be executed in time. The moment Purple Sun was executed, the space 5 centimeters in front of Yu Wangyuan was immediately filled with the golden red flames that spewed out from his mouth and palm, creating a vortex. The golden red flames were quickly dyed purple, trapping Lu Xiaofei's fist. Her double explosion was unable to hit her opponent, only shattering the vortex. The purple flames were like arrows, shooting outwards and messing up the situation. Yu Wangyuan seized the opportunity and regained the initiative. He controlled the rhythm and did not give Lu Xiaofei any chance to turn the tables, even if she did the same and used Purple Sunday. Lu Qing watched attentively. He realized that no matter if it was Yu Wangyuan or Lu Xiaofei, once they used Purple Sun, their expressions would inevitably show signs of fatigue. Their bodily functions would also decrease to a certain extent. Therefore, he had a clear understanding of the exhaustion of this simplified physical invulnerability move. After the first battle, the few of them gathered together. With Yu Wangyuan and Lu Xiaofei as the center, they summarized the battle and exchanged their views. After this matter was settled, the other three retreated and leaned against the edge of the glass that was resistant to high temperatures and attacks. Only Lu Cheng and Tu Zheng were left facing off against each other with Sun Jianlin in between. Tu Zheng smiled and glanced at Lu Cheng. He took a step back and measured the distance with his legs. When both parties were standing at their predetermined positions, he lowered his waist and extended his right hand forward. He got into a fighting stance and looked rather carefree. Lu Cheng responded with a smile and got into his stance too. Before the referee could raise his hand, he suddenly saw golden red flames leaping out from his opponent's eyes. He could feel the illusory flames burning fiercely and sweeping towards him. No, they were not purely illusory. They had really heated up the surrounding airflow. As he breathed, his airway was burning and he could vaguely feel it burning. His aura interfered with reality and his mind shone into matter. Lu Cheng's bursting aura could only affect his opponent's spirit and suppress his opponent's mind. It was impossible for him to change the real environment. Even if the degree was very low, it could only be used as a form of harassment. This was a mystical ability that could only be possessed by someone close to physical invulnerability. Impressive! He channeled his ice force and condensed crystals into the inner walls of his nostrils to reduce the temperature of the airflow that entered his body. This was to prevent the airflow from harming his more delicate and weaker respiratory system. To an inhuman, not breathing for a few minutes wasn't a big deal. However, that was under the circumstances where there was no consumption of energy or internal training. In actual combat, one couldn't hold their breath all the time in order to ensure that one's body was in the best condition. Sun Jianlin looked left and right and took 2 steps back. He swung his arm down abruptly and said, "Begin!" Tu Zheng took a step forward with his right leg. It was as though the locomotive of a high-speed train was pulling his body forward. With a clang, he was not far away from Lu Cheng. The high temperature and strong wind that he created could almost blow his opponent away and burn his eyes. Invading like fire. Just as he stopped, he had already retracted his chi and blood. His right arm swung out along with the eruption of a volcano. He clenched his fists tightly and the golden red flames intertwined. Lu Cheng didn't do any dodging. Now wasn't the time to practice his body movement. Only by experiencing more would he be able to fit his predetermined plan. Hence, he used force concentration and placed both his feet together. He used one hand to shield his face and the other to pull back diagonally. He swung out violently. The scarlet flames that were close to white stuck to the surface of his fist, as though they were going to burn and tear apart the enemy. Bam! Tu Zheng's fist exerted force in advance and hit the empty space. The golden red flames flowed out and gathered into a ball before collapsing rapidly. Boom! The dazzling white light blinded Lu Cheng's retina. The wind and waves in front of him surged forward. The flames engulfed him like a torrential rain and flood, as though they were going to swallow him whole. The 36th move of the fire sect, Devour. Tu Zheng had used fire force to execute the Devour move that Lu Qing had asked him about last week. It was as though he was trying to prove something. Lu Qing had already thought of a countermeasure. He didn't panic. A layer of ice armor instantly formed on his face, limbs and chest. It reflected the scarlet glow and flowed with extraordinary splendor. Bam bam bam. Waves of flames hit different parts of his body like a torrential rain, melting the ice layer and turning it into water. It moistened the ground but quickly evaporated. Without this additional defense, Lu Cheng's skin would have been burned and his body would have suffered injuries. Although he could recover after a period of time through the vigorous exchange of old and new injuries, he would still feel uncomfortable for a while. After mastering the realm of encountering gods in the void, self-reflection, the 2 old scars on his body gradually faded away and looked brand new. Bam! The violent airwaves were neutralized by Lu Cheng's scorching punch. His feet didn't move an inch and his center of gravity didn't waver. In the lake in his heart, the water froze into ice. The clarity of the ice acted as a mirror, reflecting his surroundings and replacing his eyes to grasp the situation. Lu Cheng suddenly realized that things weren't going well. He tilted his body abruptly and his muscles expanded, rubbing against the air barrier at high speed. He raised his left hand again and blocked in front of his face. At this moment, Tu Zheng threw out a punch with his left fist that looked casual but was in fact tightly connected. The surface of his fist was golden red and tinged with purple. It was heavy and heavy. The surrounding airflow suddenly collapsed inwards. The already hot air was ignited in an instant and turned into patches of scarlet red that pounced towards Tu Zheng's fist. Wherever it passed, Lu Qing blocked it. Previously, it was arrows that came from the inside out. Now, it was raindrops that came from the outside in. The 116th move of the fire sect, Flying Moth. Together with the changes in the environment caused by the momentum, this was its true form. It didn't need to be prepared with continuous scorching punches like Lu Cheng. It was swift, ruthless, and dreamy. Bam! As Lu Cheng turned, he stirred up a strong wind that blew away many of the flying moths. He relied on the remnants of his ice armor and his own strength to resist the attack. Taking a step forward, Tu Zheng closed in and punched out with his right fist. It was heavy and ruthless, as though he wanted to use the visual error caused by the density of the airflow to defeat his opponent. However, when Lu Qing used the ice mirror as the core to make an effective defense, his fire force exploded silently, giving his fist a second push. It strangely changed its position and smashed fiercely into Lu Cheng's shoulder. The use of jet spray was extremely appropriate at this moment. Captain Tu seems to be very serious today. Jia Lu muttered to herself, amused and surprised. Usually he would hold back when he fought. Swallowing and Flying Moth were all moves that Lu Qing had asked about or used before. Does this count as half a lesson? Sun Jianlin casually mentioned. Which martial artist wasn't competitive and had the desire to suppress their opponent? Chapter 549. Scorching heat stacked around him as the flying moths came one after another. Even with the ice mirror in his heart, Lu Cheng felt that everything was in chaos. If it were anyone else, they would have been flustered and wouldn't have the time to think about the errors caused by the high temperature distorting their vision. However, he blocked with his arm accurately as though it was measured with a ruler. He wasn't affected at all. Facing Tu Zheng's crutch, the muscles on his back swelled. His spine was pulled like a dragon or a bowstring, causing his body to tilt to one side. He dodged Tu Zheng's crutch perfectly. At the same time, his unmoving right leg tightened. The moment he stabilized his center of gravity, he kicked out like a steel whip. This was the result of his experience after sparring with Wang Yuan last week. Facing the direction change of jet spray, one couldn't just dodge or dodge blindly. One had to seize the opportunity and use offense as defense. Otherwise, one would definitely lose if one continued to defend. However, Tu Zheng seemed to have expected this. He didn't stop his fist in the air and swung it downwards, causing his body to fall forward. Taking advantage of the momentum, he stepped out with his left leg and used his knee to hit the side of Lu Cheng's whip leg. Without any hesitation, he neutralized his opponent's counterattack. Being close to physical invulnerability, he also had the realm of encountering gods in the void, self-reflection. His left arm shook and his fist shook. Halfway through, he changed direction again, forcing Lu Cheng to retreat. Pa-pa-pa. Crisp sounds rang out continuously as Tu Zheng continued to attack with jet spray. The distance between him and Lu Cheng was getting smaller and smaller. Once he stepped into the range of close-range combat, the change in direction from the second-stage explosion wouldn't be so easy to dodge. During this process, his steps were precise and complemented his attacks perfectly, leaving no gaps. It was as though he was a robot. Lu Cheng had no choice but to retreat in an orderly manner. Everywhere he passed, sand and pebbles flew and strong winds blew. Compared to Captain Tu, your jet spray isn't good enough. Jia Lu tilted her head and said to Yu Chua, who specialized in this unique skill. Yu Wang Yuan's eyes darkened. He mocked himself. Our realms are different, so of course there's no comparison. If I could make a breakthrough in encountering gods in the void, I wouldn't be any weaker than Captain Tuesday. Sigh. It's a pity that the fire sect doesn't have the ice mirror and can only weaken things that aren't very effective. Without a level, you can't even touch the realm of all-seeing God, sighed Lu Xiaofei. All-seeing God was another name for encountering gods in the void. The so-called God also referred to himself. While the three Inhumans were conversing, the corners of their eyes never left the center of the field. They were unwilling to miss any detail. Bang bang bang. Lu Cheng's footprints were left behind as he fought and retreated. Gradually he was forced to the edge of the arena. Behind him was the transparent glass that separated the arena from the training ground. But Tu Zheng's left fist was like a venomous snake. Suddenly he lifted his head and brushed past Lu Cheng's arm, which was hammering downwards to block the attack, before shooting towards his throat at lightning speed. Lu Cheng bent his back halfway and leaned back, allowing his opponent's fist to reach the clouds. In this twisted posture, he swung his right arm backward, turning it into a whip and lashed it towards Tu Zheng's lower abdomen. Tu Zheng didn't panic. He shrunk his shoulders and swung his arms slightly to counter Lu Cheng's single whip. At this moment, he suddenly heard an explosion coming from the horizon. It was muffled and unclear. No, it didn't come from the horizon. It came from Lu Cheng's wrist and fist. Bam! Lu Cheng's arm that was swung backward bounced back. His fist seemed to spurt out a tail of flames as it shot towards the sky like a rocket. It avoided Tu Zheng's block and blasted towards the area between his neck and chest. Fire Sect's 15th move, Jet Spray. For the past week, other than studying the swallow move, his focus had been on practicing jet spray. With his control over his body, it wasn't difficult for him to perform a double explosion. It was just that Emperor Yen Force was more violent than Fire Force and caused more damage to the body. If not for Lu Cheng's precise control, he wouldn't have been able to execute it consecutively. However, he also couldn't do it as easily as Tu Zheng and continuously execute it. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. The fist rapidly enlarged in his eyes. Tu Zheng's expression changed slightly. The muscles on his chest caved in and even the sound of his bones cracking could be heard. In an instant, the area above Tu Zheng's chest caved in. His body floated backwards, causing Lu Cheng's fist to hit empty air. Great! Seeing that his opponent had also mastered jet spray, Tu Zheng's eyes flashed with a reddish-gold light as he got more excited. No matter what he thought in private, once he entered a battle, the stronger his opponent was, the more excited he would be. When Lu Cheng straightened his back like a spring, Tu Zheng lowered his center of gravity and gathered his qi and blood. Following the explosion of Dan Force, he threw a punch forward. His martial arts suit bulged inch by inch as though there were flood dragons swimming underneath. They gathered at the surface of his fist and condensed into a reddish-gold light that rapidly collapsed inward. Fire Sect's 36th move, Swallow. Seeing this, Lu Cheng straightened his back and followed up with force concentration. Using Dan Equilibrium to guide the flood dragons, he threw a punch forward. The reddish-white light turned into a ball of flames and instantly contracted. It was the same swallow, but a different force. The appearance of the white ball of flames was heavy and heavy, pulling Tu Zheng's reddish-gold light. Boom! Light exploded and illuminated the entire arena. More than half of the formed shockwaves surged towards Tu Zheng. Flames shot out continuously like rain and hit the waves one by one. Just like how jet spray was more suitable for fire force, Swallow was a perfect match for Emperor Yen force. It was slightly better than fire force and had a slight counter effect. Using Dan equilibrium as a guide, Lu Cheng had greatly reduced the gap between him and Tu Zheng in terms of level, experience, and proficiency. Using the swallow style in front of Emperor Yen, this is my chance. Lu Cheng's muscles bulged and he pushed his body forward, stirring up a strong wind that accelerated the flow of flames. Tu Zheng raised his left hand and blocked in front of his head. His muscles bulged like a balloon and pushed outwards to offset the shockwaves and deflect the arrows of flames. Bam bam bam. His clothes were torn apart by the reddish-red flames. Scorch marks appeared on his skin one after another. Lu Cheng took the initiative to slow down his pace. While his opponent was defending passively, he visualized Emperor Yen in his mind. His core was the heavy Vairocana. This Vairocana wrapped around the Vairocana crashed into the boundless cold. Mutated version of severe warning. Lu Cheng took half a step forward and punched out from his waist with his left fist. Everywhere it passed, the colors seemed to darken. Tu Zheng's eyelids twitched. His eyes immediately turned reddish gold and were dyed purple. Phew! He raised his palms and opened them in front of him. Faint purple flames gushed out and intertwined with the flames in his mouth, forming a dreamy whirlpool that blocked Lu Cheng's punch. Fire Sec's 11th move, simplified physical invulnerability, Purple Sun. Lu Cheng's gloomy left fist was like a fire extinguisher. As soon as it hit the purple vortex, it dissipated into thin air. There was no follow-up jet of counterattack. Boom! Gloomy darkness exploded and purple sparks flew everywhere. Tu Zheng's body swayed and retreated more than 10 meters, as though he was trying to catch his breath. Lu Cheng's qi and blood circulated and stimulated his body. Using the simplified attainment formula, he caught up with Tu Zheng and raised his right fist. In just a few seconds, the offensive and defensive positions were switched. Seeing this, Lu Xiaofei and the others were slightly stunned. They had a deeper understanding of Lu Cheng's cruelty. Seeing that Lu Cheng was closing in on him, Tu Zheng's eyes narrowed. His reddish-gold eyes painted a complicated picture. The surrounding airflow increased in temperature. Lu Cheng felt as though he had been thrown into a blast furnace. His body was melting inch by inch. Countless cracks appeared on his ice mirror and it turned into water. This was the combination of a secret mental skill and an environment that changed his aura slightly. This was the Fire Sec's secret skill, the 335th move, Infernal Purgatory. With a thought, he drew the forwarding formula. Lu Cheng's ice mirror quickly stabilized, but his movements were inevitably sluggish. It was this delay that allowed Tu Zheng to leap forward without lifting his leg. He swung his arm and smashed his fist towards his opponent's head. Lu Cheng had just raised his arm and got into a stance when he ignited the fire force. His fist turned diagonally and hit his opponent's shoulder. Jet spray again. Lu Cheng lowered his waist and shoulders and leaned back slightly to avoid the attack. His other hand swung outwards, intending to counterattack. Heavy and heavy. At this moment, Tu Zheng's fist made another dull sound. As though it had received another push, it swung sideways and stopped right beside Lu Cheng's neck. Lu Cheng couldn't dodge in time. Triple push. Tu Zheng had actually completed the second change of direction. This was the highest level of jet spray. He was close to physical invulnerability and had reached the realm of encountering gods in the void. He could control his body precisely and had barely mastered it. He had split the fire force into internal and external parts and separated them. He would first explode outwards before exploding inwards. This was his first time using it today. Lu Cheng wasn't the only one stunned. Even the referee, Sun Jianlin, and the rest were stunned. Impressive. Lu Qing kept his stance and praised from the bottom of his heart, as expected of a mighty one who was close to physical invulnerability. You're not bad yourself. Tu Zheng, who had won the match, was in a good mood and gave him a thumbs up. Leader 2, you were holding back just now. For the Battle of the Kings? That's not enough. Wang Yuan and the rest gathered around and lamented with complicated expressions. I just mastered it. Tu Zheng replied humbly. All right, let's exchange our views on the match just now. After Sun Jianlin defeated Jia Lu, the sparring session ended. The technical team started to work on the video. At this moment, someone in the Longhu Club work group asked curiously, how was the sparring session for the reserve team today? Who did Lu Qing fight with? He fought with Leader Tuesday. Sun Tingting thought for a few seconds and replied with 3 words. What was the result? The girl from the Foreign Affairs team gossiped. Is there a need to ask? Sun Tingting replied with a smiley face. That's true. The rest chimed in. Chapter 550. The staff of the Longhu Club weren't surprised that Lu Qing lost to Tu Zheng. On the contrary, they felt that it was only natural. Even if he was the heavenly son of the era, he had only reached the inhuman stage for 11 months. How could he compare to Tu Zheng, who had been close to physical invulnerability for more than a year? It would be weird if he won. How could a 1 in 1,000 years freak appear again in 20 years? Sitting in a small cubicle, Amin stared at the computer screen on her desk. She didn't feel disappointed and thoughts kept flashing through her mind. After joining the club, she specially bought the autobiographies of the Dragon King and other physical invulnerability experts to understand the commonalities of martial artists. She didn't want to offend the target of her service. If that happened, not only would she fail to get promoted, she might even lose her job. From those books, she realized that most of the mighty ones cared about winning and losing. The only difference was the extent. As the heavenly son of the era who had the potential to reach physical invulnerability, Lu Qing should have a similar mentality. Although it was just an internal practice match, he would most likely feel depressed. It wouldn't be too much, but it would definitely be there. At this time, she could pretend to meet him by chance, praise him a little, express her admiration and envy for his bright future. That would earn her a good impression and recognition. If he had lost a crucial match, she might not dare to go. At that time, martial artists would either be like a powder keg and urgently need to vent their emotions. Otherwise, they would feel so bad that they wanted to be alone and didn't want to be disturbed. At this level, it was just right. Not showing. Amin glanced at Huang Bin, who wasn't far away. She saw him staring at the computer intently and typing furiously. He didn't have any other reaction. He's chatting in the group chat. Most guys aren't as meticulous as girls. Amin picked up the cup and walked out of the door calmly. She headed to the washroom, intending to clean the cup without arousing any suspicion. After entering the washroom, she placed the cup at the corner of the sink. She turned and walked to the stairwell. With light steps, she came to the first floor. Outside the reserve team training ground in the northwest, Amin had just arrived when she saw Lu Qing. She was delighted. Just as she was about to speak, she realized that he had turned into the dance stage training room and closed the door with a bang. I'm 1 step behind. So be it. Amin stomped her feet helplessly. After waiting for a while and seeing that her target wasn't showing any signs of coming out, she could only return to the assistant team office. In the training room, Lu Qing's phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was a message from Ku. Hit the ground. The flight landed at Gaofin's airport. The corners of his mouth curled up, and the little bit of gloominess he felt earlier vanished into thin air. Welcome home, he said with a silly smile. After that, he added a hug emoji. Yenjika replied, How was the fight with Tu Zheng just now? Let me give you some guidance. Previously, it was the landing stage of the plane. I lost to his jet spray and changed direction twice. Lu Qing described honestly. They talked about this topic for a while until Yenjika got off the plane, took her luggage, and went back home with her parents. Then they stopped talking. Lu Qing's mood had long returned to normal. He once again immersed himself in practicing the various unique skills of the dance stage chapter of the fire sect. When it was time for dinner, he was about to pack up and go to the dining room to fill his stomach when he suddenly received a picture from the girl. It was a picture of her fair and slender palms and the oily grilled eggplant covered with crispy peas and green and red. Lu Qing couldn't help but swallow his saliva when he saw it. Old Lu barbecues eggplant. Shouldn't you be going to get rid of your jet lag? Lu Qing asked with a confused expression. Yan Zhike replied, blushing expression. Can I say that I'm too excited to sleep after returning to Xioshan? I'll make you envious. After sending this message, she sent over a few pictures. There were close-up shots of the grilled eggplant from various angles, chicken tips, beef, pork ribs, and other skewers. You're welcome. I'm just a good person. Covering mouth expression, she replied. Looking at the pictures, she's with Sister Jingjing and Song Li? Lu Qing flipped through the pictures one by one. Suddenly, he laughed and replied, thinking about the environment of their home, I feel that it's not compatible with our little fairy. Old Lu's barbecue shop wasn't dirty, but similar places were inevitably a little greasy and messy. Who's going to bring me to a roadside stall to eat dumplings, noodles, steamed dumplings and etc.? Yan Zhike replied. You're the one who led me astray. It's you. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. He wasn't in a hurry to go to the dining room. Instead, he leaned against the wall of the training room and typed a reply with both hands. After joking around for a while, Yan Zhike replied with a red heart emoji, I'm going to eat. Without waiting for Lu Qing's reply, she added, I heard from the lady boss that this place is going to be demolished. They have to move. Move to where? Lu Qing asked with concern. It's not decided yet. Anyway, Song Li added her WeChat. We'll know when we ask. Yan Zhike exhaled and said, it's a little complicated. Their home has been here for so many years, as if it will never change. But in the end, they still have to move. Yeah, everything in my memory is no longer the same as before. Lu Qing chimed in. In the poem, the peach blossoms are still the same, but the human face is no longer the same. But sometimes, it's not just the human face, but the peach blossoms are also different. All the memories will settle in the mind and can't be traced back. After exclaiming a few words, Lu Qing changed the topic and asked casually, where did Sister Jingjing decide to go in the end? Xing Jingjing had graduated this year. With her dance stage cultivation and powerful supernatural ability, she had received many invitations. We were just talking about this. Sister Jingjing feels that the martial arts circle is relatively simpler and doesn't require much social interaction. It's more suitable for her. Yan Zhike said, she plans to go to the Guanwai League. The salary there isn't high, but there are physical invulnerability and inhuman experts who are good at illusions. She can learn something suitable. That's not bad. Lu Qing didn't talk about his wife's best friend anymore. He planned to call Director Xing to congratulate him. The Guanwai League is also one of the top forces. While Yan Zhike was enjoying the food, Lu Qing walked out of the training room and headed to the dining hall. The sky outside was gloomy and shaking. It seemed that there would be a rainstorm. Mr. Lu. Amen and Huang Bin, who were waiting at the entrance of the dining hall, shouted at the same time. They didn't know what to say in the presence of each other. Lu Qing nodded with a smile. When he was about to walk past them, he suddenly thought of something. Didn't you say that the club reserved tickets for the home match for us? Huang Bin rushed to answer. Mr. Lu, how many tickets do you want? Amen thought quickly and asked, do you want tickets for the away match? Away match? Lu Qing pondered and said, if it's possible, give me 2 tickets for every match until mid-August, regardless of home or away match. Yan Zhike came to Huaqing. He couldn't let her stay at home all the time. That would be boring. If it was a home match, he could treat it as a date. If it was an away match, he could leave a day earlier. It could be considered a short holiday. Tiske, just thinking about it makes me happy. But Amen agreed without hesitation. This made Huang Bin, who was hesitant and unsure if the away match could be done, feel vexed. I was really stupid just now. With Lu Cheng's status and the fact that he was favored, who would take such a small request seriously? If the rules were as such, he would follow the rules. If the rules didn't have such a rule, he would add it. Thank you. Lu Qing thanked him sincerely. He walked into the dining hall and saw that Tu Zheng and the rest were there too. Everyone's schedule today is very similar. No wonder it's the weekend. After sighing and greeting, Lu Qing took a table and filled it with many dishes. Halfway through the meal, Zhang Shouyan from the Foreign Affairs team came in hurriedly. After looking around, he pushed his gold-rimmed glasses and said, "Just in time. Since everyone is here, I have something to trouble you with." "What is it?" As the team leader, Tu Zheng was duty-bound to ask. There was a problem in the south previously. All the experts of the security company were scattered there. Now we have a mission, but we can't find an inhuman mighty one to hold the fort. Zhang Shouyan briefly explained the cause and effect. Longhu Club naturally had a security company in its business. However, their focus was different from the others. They were one of the military's sock puppets and most of their missions were overseas. What mission? It would be too much of a delay if we were to go overseas. The Battle of the Kings will be held in late August. Tu Jing got straight to the point. Zhang Shouyan swallowed his saliva and said, "We don't have to go overseas. Just stay in Huaqing. The Simano royal family from Europe is coming from Beijing and will be here for 2 days. They have their own core security team. We only need to be on the lookout at the periphery. Those trivial matters will be taken care of by professionals. Now we just lack 2 inhuman mighty one to hold the fort and prevent any accidents." Speaking till here, he paused and said, "You guys know about the Simano royal family, right?" "Yes, the vampire family," Jia Lu answered with a smile. The Simano royal family practiced the inheritance of the dark sect. Their ancestors could be traced back to BC. There were many physical invulnerability experts in each generation, causing the mutation of the bloodline to still flourish to this day. Superhumans would appear from time to time. They were fast, strong, resilient, and had a high thirst for blood. The vampires in American novels were based on them. In order to maintain this mutation, those with a bright future would marry close relatives. To outsiders, they were known as the purified bloodline. It's good that you know. Other than being on the lookout at the periphery, we also have the intention of keeping an eye on them in case they can't control their impulses and make any mistakes, which could lead to bad consequences. It's better to be safe than sorry. Zhang Shouyan explained. "Who's going?" "We need 2. The remuneration will be distributed in the form of benefits." "Isn't this a mission similar to Spider? It's troublesome." Lu Qing pretended not to hear. Seeing that no one responded, Tu Jing smiled and said, "As usual, let's draw lots." "Okay." The rest nodded. Tu Jing found a piece of paper and tore it into 6 pieces. He wrote the word "Go" on 2 of the pieces and crumpled them into balls. He placed them in a bowl and got Zhang Shouyan to stir them before bringing them back. Lu Qing reached out and grabbed one of the balls. He unfolded it and saw a word clearly written on it. "Go. This luck." Lu Qing laughed at himself and showed the results to the rest. "Who?" asked Zhang Shouyan. "Me." Jia Lu raised her hand helplessly. "P.S. Let me tell you in advance. Tomorrow, there are 2 sessions. One is at noon and the other is before midnight. I have to go to the hospital in the afternoon. My eyes are not feeling well. It's mainly my right eyelid that keeps twitching. It's been a few days." Chapter 551. After Jia Lu raised her hand, Tu Zheng, Yu Wangyuan and the rest followed suit. All of them were blank. Seeing that Lu Cheng and the rest didn't object strongly, Zhang Shouyan secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He smiled and said, "It's settled then. Come to the club tomorrow as usual. There will be a car to send you there. The specific arrangements will be explained to you by the people over there." All right. Since he had joined the Longhu Club, Lu Cheng was mentally prepared for such missions. Furthermore, it wasn't a dangerous mission since it only lasted for 2 days during the weekend. After seeing Zhang Shouyan off, he picked up his phone and told Yenjika about his bad luck. Yenjika quickly sent an emoji of covering her mouth and said, "I'm not laughing." Lu Qing smiled. Covering face expression and sighing expression, "Cuckoo, you've changed. You weren't like this in the past." You only knew how to comfort me. When did you learn my lines? Yenjika sent an emoji of sitting blankly. After chatting for a while, Lu Cheng threw his little gloominess to the back of his mind. While eating, he searched for information on the Samano royal family and had a heated discussion with his wife. The next morning, after his training, he arrived at the club in the familiar SUV. He saw Jia Lu in black loose-fitting clothes. Her hair was tied into a ponytail. Faint traces of makeup surrounded her bright and watery eyes. She held a sheathed dagger in her hand. While looking around, she looked valiant. However, she didn't change her attitude as a bystander. You're dressed quite professionally. She glanced at Lu Cheng and chuckled. Lu Cheng's clothes were also loose-fitting. However, it wasn't a martial arts suit. He didn't want others to see through his identity. The navy blue colors set off his temperament well. You're not bad yourself. Lu Cheng replied politely. Sigh, this kind of thing is quite annoying. If I have the time, I'd rather practice my martial arts and practice my moves. Wouldn't that be better? Jia Lu waved the dagger in her hand. Currently, she was at the stage where her desire to improve was the strongest. She couldn't wait to be disturbed. Although the competitive atmosphere and competitive spirit would always exist, there would also be peaks and valleys. It was impossible for it to be so strong all the time. When a few people got along with each other for a long time, this aspect would fade. Just like the reserve team from before, it would only become active again when a newcomer joined and disturbed the tranquility. Because of this, Jia Lu was stimulated by Lu Cheng. She also noticed that everyone else was working hard. How could she be willing to slow down and waste time? Lu Cheng smiled and said, Anyway, I've already drawn it. Saying more will only ruin my mood. Let's just treat it as an adjustment and save energy for later. That's the only way. Before Jia Lu could finish her sentence, she saw a black car drive over and stop in front of her. Good morning, both of you. A man whose thighs and calves were almost the same size pushed open the door and greeted them with a smile. He also had a ponytail, wore Hawaiian-style shorts, and wore purple-rimmed glasses. He looked more like a director than a security company employee. Of course, if he didn't have a gun, he would look more like, Hello. Lu Cheng and Jia Lu retracted their expressions and returned the greeting politely. Sorry to trouble both of you. Let's talk in the car, said the ponytail man as he showed his ID. As inhuman mighty ones, they were bold with their skills. Also, they noticed that the driver was Zhang Shouyan from the External Affairs team, so they sat in the back seat. After closing the car door, the ponytail man went to the front passenger seat. He turned his head and said, My name is Xue Jian. I used to be a member of the club, but now I'm working in a security company. You don't have to worry too much this time. Everything will be handled by professionals. You just have to follow the arrangements and wait within a certain area. Make sure that if anything happens, there won't be no one and you'll be able to make it in time. There are many people in the day, so it's best if both of you work together. At night, you can take turns. Lu Cheng and Jia Lu nodded at his words. Their expressions became relaxed. After Xue Jian finished his explanation and confirmed a few questions, they took out their phones at the same time and went about their own business. In the next few hours, they went to the airport, to the hotel, and finally to the grand banquet hall. Throughout the entire process, they didn't have to watch the surveillance cameras or be on high alert. It was all other people's business. In other words, before an accident happened, they were just there to fill in the blanks. In the luxurious yet low-key banquet hall, Lu Cheng and Jia Lu stood in a corner, wearing undetectable earphones. They looked like the most ordinary security guards. However, it was just an appearance. The unprofessional Lu Cheng would occasionally look at his phone screen with a smile and type furiously. At other times, his eyes would be half closed, making use of the free time to think about the remaining secret arts of the fire sect in the Dan stage chapter and simulate them in his mind. Jia Lu paced back and forth. This was the 39th time she had done this today. Looking to the side, she sighed, half out of curiosity. Aren't you bored? Are you okay? Lu Cheng gave him a puzzled look. You seem to be having a good time? Jia Lu thought for a long time but couldn't think of the phrase, enjoying oneself. That's because I have a wife. You probably need a boyfriend? Lu Cheng ridiculed, "Isn't it the same everywhere you play with your phone?" Jiao Lu was speechless at first. "In the end," she said earnestly, "in our martial arts school, people who are addicted to their phones will be slapped in the palm. You guys are so pitiful." Lu Cheng didn't notice the insinuation. He smiled and pointed to the front. "Then let's enjoy the scenery. I have to say, the members of the Samano royal family are quite good-looking." They were more than just good-looking. They were all handsome men and women with black hair and red eyes. They were more than enough to make movies or TV series. "I'm sick of it. I want to get into a stance and practice a set of martial arts now." Jia Lu looked to the front, feeling lonely. Lu Cheng's mouth twitched. He was about to tease her when Xue Jian's voice suddenly came from the earpiece. "At your 9 o'clock, there's a little prince acting strangely. He's a powerful superpower user. One of you will follow him. If he wants to go out or do something bad, stop him." "Okay." Lu Cheng agreed and turned to look at Jia Lu, hinting with his eyes, "Aren't you bored?" "Here comes the trouble." Jia Lu turned her head and pretended not to see or hear. "Busful." Lu Cheng criticized in his heart. He strode towards the direction Xue Jian had described. He saw a 13 or 14-year-old boy moving towards the washroom. He was wearing a tuxedo with a red bow tie. His black hair was spiked back and his red eyes were like gems. He looked meticulous and childlike. "That's him. Prince Cinda, follow him. Keep a distance." Xue Jian's confirmation came from Lu Cheng's earpiece. Lu Cheng pressed his ear and slowed down his movements. He followed Prince Cinda into the corridor leading to the washroom. After a few steps, he saw Prince Cinda's ears twitch. He suddenly turned and stood in the shadows outside the washroom. His body quickly darkened as if he had blended into the shadows. But that was only relatively speaking. Prince Cinda's silhouette could still be seen at a glance. He stood there motionless with his shoulders shrunk. It was as if he had turned invisible. "Do you think I'm King blind?" Lu Cheng was confused. He thought for a while and walked over. He smiled and spoke in a foreign language. "Hello, this is the women's washroom. The men's washroom is a little in front." Prince Cinda's figure gradually became clearer. He was stunned. "You can see me? I'm not blind." For a moment, Lu Cheng was speechless. Prince Cinda blinked his red eyes in confusion and said, "They all say that my shadow form ability is very outstanding. It's impossible to see or find me. I get it now. You must be a very, very powerful mighty one, right? I'm more than willing to accept the evaluation. But what happened just now has nothing to do with mighty one. Anyone with normal eyesight can see them? They should go see an ophthalmologist." Lu Cheng forced a smile. "Just as you expected. I knew I could meet a mighty one this way." Prince Cinda muttered and revealed a childlike smile. No, he was a child. "Sir, can you be my opponent? Let me practice my superpower." No, it's not a battle. I just want to confirm what level my superpower is at. My family, my friends, and my servants are all very polite to me. I always feel that I'm not very sure. Sir, is that okay?" Lu Cheng was stunned. He spoke into the mini walkie-talkie on his collar. "Incoming." "What's the situation?" Xue Jian became nervous. Lu Cheng deliberated over his words and replied solemnly, "I think I've met a scammer. P.S. This chapter is a little short. Pack up and go out?" Go see an ophthalmologist. If there's nothing wrong, the second watch will be at midnight." Chapter 552. What? On the other end of the walkie-talkie, Xue Jian was confused. He almost shouted, "Speak human language." Lu Cheng repeated his explanation. "The little rascal is acting strangely because he wants to find someone to spar with. Hurry up and find your parents." "I'm not in the mood to play with him. Although it's not a bad idea to see the dark sex legacy, this isn't the right place." "Understood," Xue Jian replied after a few seconds of silence. He first informed the head of the Samano royal family's security team before waiting for further instructions. Seeing Lu Cheng mumbling something that he couldn't understand, little Prince Cinda's eyes suddenly deepened, turning from blood red to dark red. Circles of ripples spread out from his eyes, like the surface of a calm lake repeating itself over and over again. It made Lu Cheng feel as though he was staring at a pendulum swinging left and right, or the hands of a clock ticking away. His mind became more and more empty, his thoughts scattered, and his eyelids became heavier and heavier, as though he had fallen into a dream. The ancient scroll of darkness, the progenitor of hypnosis. Noticing Lu Cheng's eyes becoming unfocused, Prince Cinda couldn't help but smile. He issued an order in a low voice. "Turn back." Lu Cheng didn't move and continued standing there. "Turn back." Prince Cinda raised his voice, but Lu Cheng remained as steady as a mountain. He didn't move an inch. "What's going on?" Prince Cinda looked over and saw that Lu Cheng's eyes weren't focused, but there was a sense of superiority in the depths of his eyes. It was as though Lu Cheng was looking down at him with a calm, indifferent, and emotionless attitude. It was like the gaze of the gods recorded in ancient books. All of a sudden, Shinde shuddered, his whole body trembling. "Have you had enough fun?" Lu Cheng teased. "I've had enough." Prince Cinda bit his lip and replied. Suddenly, he stomped on the ground with his black leather shoes and pounced forward. He turned into a blurry shadow and dashed into the depths of the corridor at high speed. However, such a quick movement only produced a slight friction sound, like a fleeting light in a peaceful dream. Bam! The air barrier shattered, and a strong wind blew. A dull thud entered Prince Cinda's ears. His vision blurred as he saw a young man in loose, navy blue clothes appear in front of him. The young man extended his right hand and gestured for him to stop. He stepped on the ground again and changed direction as if he was tap dancing. He tried to go around from the other side. There was another explosion of stellar energy. The same person, the same posture, and the same expression appeared before Shinda's eyes. He changed his body shape several times and even pretended to retreat, but he still couldn't shake off his opponent. Lu Cheng was always fixed in front of him. Little Prince Cinda stopped, bent over slightly and panted lightly. This kid's inherited superpower talent is pretty impressive. It's just that he's still young and can't unleash 10% or 20% of it. Once he reaches adulthood and goes through a short period of training, he'll probably be close to the inhuman stage. As for the further future, there's no way to be certain. Lu Cheng suddenly understood the reason why the Samano royal family doted on this kid from top to bottom. He had spoiled her like a spoiled brat. Even though Zhang Xian was very polite and naive, he still disregarded the other party's wishes and forced himself to try it. She really wanted to give him a good beating so that he could experience what it meant to stir-fry meat with bamboo shoots. Would this cause a diplomatic storm? Lu Cheng subconsciously looked at the cameras around him. For some reason, little Prince Cinda felt his heart clench and instinctively took 2 steps back. He wasn't willing to give up. With a push of his palm, all his pores opened and spewed out a scarlet mist. It was so evil and so cold, yet it carried a faint fragrance. It combined the effects of dizziness, corrosion, weakness, and coagulation. The ancient scroll of darkness, blood-boiling mist. This was the product of Cinda directly vaporizing a small amount of his own blood and mixing it with his darkness supernatural ability. The scarlet mist spread and quickly enveloped Lu Cheng. Seeing this, a look of delight flashed across Cinda's eyes. At this moment, the mist seemed to thicken and solidify. In less than a few seconds, it formed pieces of translucent snowflakes of various shapes. They were dark red in color and drifted down slowly. It was a beautiful and dreamy sight. Sizzle! The scarlet snow covered the ground and let out a soft sizzling sound. It quickly melted into water, leaving behind clear marks. After the blood mist cleared, Lu Cheng's eyes reflected the figure of a boy in a black tuxedo with a red bow tie and combed back hair. He took a step forward. Inexplicably, Cinda panicked and took another 2 steps back. He blurted out in a croaky voice, What are you trying to do?" Lu Cheng only wanted to scare the brat and didn't intend to use violence. Just as he was about to reply fiercely, he suddenly sensed someone entering the corridor. "Sister Irina!" Little Prince Cinda shouted in surprise, as though he had seen his savior. Lu Cheng didn't turn his head, but the figure of the person appeared in the ice mirror. It was a lady in her late 20s wearing a gorgeous evening gown. She had the signature black hair and red eyes of the Samano royal family. She had long eyebrows and bright eyes. She was beautiful and elegant, and her figure was hot. She brought out the elegance and sexiness of the bareback dress. As she walked, it was as though she was a seductive darkness. She gave people a feeling of danger, but they couldn't help but want to approach her. The strong are extraordinary. Princess Irina, Xue Jian introduced through Lu Cheng's earpiece. Lu Cheng nodded slightly and stepped aside, allowing little Prince Cinda to run past and stand beside the person. Little Prince just walked into the wrong washroom. He described what had happened with a straight face. I was just... As a gentleman, Cinda's face flushed red. How could I enter the ladies' washroom? Without waiting for Irina's reply, Lu Cheng pretended to be on the walkie-talkie. He left the place and returned to the banquet hall. Princess Irina didn't speak. She just frowned and sized him up with a strange look. Sister Irina, do you know him? Cinda was raised to be a child, but that didn't mean he was stupid. He keenly sensed his cousin's abnormality. You could say so. Irina retracted her gaze and answered faintly. She muttered to herself, the feeling of starry sky is so familiar. Ever since Lu Cheng was listed as the heavenly son of China, the intelligence agencies of various countries had been collecting information on him. He was a key target of observation. When he left the University Martial Arts Circle and joined the Longhu Club, similar information was presented to the higher-ups of various countries. They viewed him as the successor of the Dragon King. Irina, who had been in touch with the royal family for some time, naturally knew about it. Is he very strong? Little Prince Cinda asked excitedly. Very strong. Irina nodded solemnly. Little Prince Cinda's eyes darted around. He asked curiously, then is he stronger than you, Sister Irina? For now, I'm stronger. Irina boasted a little. She and Lu Cheng were at the same level. As for whether she could defeat him, she would only know after a real battle. Cinder immediately revealed a puzzled expression. But he can see through my shadow transformation. Sister Irina, you can't. Irina's expression froze. She was momentarily speechless. Should I say that I lied to you just now, or have I always lied to you? Her thoughts raced and she was quick-witted. Irina smiled gracefully. Perhaps his ability is the nemesis of shadow transformation. I see. Little Prince Cinda easily believed his sister's explanation. My idiot little brother. The corners of Irina's mouth twitched, and she took the opportunity to smile. However, her heart was inexplicably filled with complicated feelings. If nothing goes wrong, Cinda will be my husband in the future, but in my heart, he will always be a child. Sigh, destined bloodline, destined marriage. Returning to Jia Lu's side, Lu Cheng picked up his phone again and shared the incident with Yenjika about his encounter with the naughty kid. So slow? What did that little prince do? Jia Lu tilted her head and asked curiously. He was playing hide and seek. Lu Cheng replied casually. Jia Lu almost couldn't believe her ears. In the end, she lamented, children who marry close relatives either have high IQ or are easily handicapped. That prince seems to be retarded. That night, in the hotel where the Samano royal family was staying, Lu Cheng and Jia Lu were in the surveillance room. One was resting with his eyes closed, while the other was paying close attention to the professionals. Once they noticed something amiss, they would take action immediately. In Irina's presidential suite, she was pacing back and forth in her lace pajamas. She looked very frustrated. This was the side effect of the mutated dark bloodline that provided her with great strength. Members of the Samano royal family would be filled with bloodlust from time to time. It wasn't the thirst for blood, but the urge to tear apart flesh and let the warm blood splatter on them. The younger and stronger they were, the stronger the urge. Bam bam bam. Irina threw punches with both hands, deforming the pillow. She didn't intend to go out hunting, even if it was just for real stray animals. Once discovered, it would severely affect the image of the royal family. After all, she was in a big country. After taking 2 deep breaths, Irina sat by the bed and removed the necklace around her neck. She pulled out the amulet that had fallen into her cleavage and held it in her palm. It was as though there was a starry sky in it. Countless feelings mixed together, but there was a calming feeling within. After 10 minutes, Irina exhaled, calmed down, and released her palm. The amulet was brand new, as though it had just come out of the oven. It was silver white and embedded with a few pure gems. In the middle of it was a complicated seal script from China. Confrontation. Chapter 553. After calming down, Irina lowered her head and looked at the amulet in her palm. She muttered to herself, "No wonder the starry sky felt so familiar. So it's because of this." After 10 seconds of silence, she stood up, picked up her phone, and walked to the window. Her black hair draped over her back like silk, complementing her white lace pajamas. Looking at the city that never sleeps and the flowing galaxy, she dialed a number using the satellite hotline. After a series of beeping sounds, a languid male voice sounded. "Still awake?" Irina took a deep breath and looked into the distance. She said calmly, "Gu, I met someone. He's a little similar to the amulet you gave me. They both smell like the starry sky." "What?" The man on the other end of the phone blurted out. After a few seconds, he asked in a deep voice, "Who is it?" "Lu Cheng, the heavenly son of China." Princess Irina narrowed her blood-red eyes, reflecting the lights of thousands of homes. "Got it." The man paused for a moment before replying, "Don't provoke him or attract his attention. I'll make arrangements for the rest." "Okay, I just wanted to inform you." Irina smiled and asked, "Is the sun still so bright in John Weilberg?" Her beautiful face was expressionless, without a trace of a smile. "Yes, I'm sunbathing and about to fall asleep." The man on the other end replied with a laugh. After chatting for a while, they hung up. Irina was still standing by the window. Her pajamas were pure white, her hair was black, and her eyes were blood red. Her gaze was deep and distant as she looked at the outside world. She muttered to herself, "Gu, does your mystery have anything to do with this?" The Simano royal family's security team was not only responsible for guarding against accidents and ensuring safety, but also keeping an eye on some of the bloodline members and preventing them from venting their anger outside. That was the responsibility of damaging the country's reputation. Therefore, the night passed without any incidents. Lu Cheng and Jia Lu had a rather relaxing time. It was the same the next day. The schedule was tight, with talks, visits, balls, and even banquets. "TSK, what did you do yesterday? Did the Simano royal family's princess take a liking to you?" "She kept looking at us." "She kept looking." Jia Lu took a look at the beautiful Irina, took a deep breath, and clicked her tongue. Lu Cheng curled his lips and said, "You like me? She wants to fight with me. She's also an expert of a similar level. She'll definitely be delighted to meet a worthy opponent." He had done his research beforehand and was very clear about Irina's strength. "Then why didn't she look at me?" Jia Lu retorted. As soon as the words crossed her mind, she was immediately annoyed. "Just pretend I didn't ask." The answer was very simple. Lu Cheng was the heavenly son of the era and had a great reputation. She had been promoted in the martial arts school but had never won a prestigious championship. Although her talents and strength were not bad, they were not widely known. For the princess of the Simano royal family, she really didn't know who he was. "Good thing I don't have to answer." Lu Cheng joked with a smile. "My answer is that you are too weak." This would make Jia Lu furious, right? Just as Jia Lu was curious and wanted to get to the bottom of this, Irina slowly walked over with a glass of pale golden champagne. Hey, she's here to challenge you to a duel. Do you accept?" Jia Lu asked with great interest as a bystander. "I'll have to ask Shuejian." Lu Cheng was not a coward and was eager to give it a try. Irina stopped in front of him with a graceful posture. Her lips curled into a smile. She said in English, "Lu, has anyone ever told you that you smell good?" "What kind of script is this? Miss, did you say the wrong lines?" Lu Cheng was confused. What happened to the agreed duel? After a few seconds, he came back to his senses and shook his head in confusion. Cuckoo often says that I'm smelly. Irina frowned slightly before breaking into a smile. That's a pity. After that, she turned around and walked back to the center of the banquet. What did she mean? Lu Cheng looked at Jia Lu, perplexed. Jia Lu was also stunned. Her bright eyes were filled with confusion. After a while, she seemed to have come to a realization. She smiled and said, "Do you need me to translate the real meaning? Let's hear it." Lu Cheng was perplexed. In short, your conversation went like this. Jia Lu paused for a moment before teasing, "Dating? No way. Be serious." Lu Cheng did not expect Jia Lu to be such a girl and was almost speechless. This girl usually looked lively but was actually the type that kept people at arm's length. She liked to watch a show but was unwilling to get involved. Who knew she had such a side to her? Jia Lu chuckled and said, "I'm serious." If she wasn't dating, why would she say that you smell good? Shouldn't she at least have a chat and talk about the dishes for dinner? If you answered, "You're the first one," or, "Is that so? What does it feel like? You could have slept with the princess tonight. Although they're going to the airport later, you still have time. Are you regretting it?" This was the first time she had encountered such a situation. She was really interested. "I'm glad that I didn't answer correctly." Lu Cheng wiped the non-existent cold sweat on his forehead. He felt that Jia Lu's words made sense. If he had answered wrongly and gotten Princess Irina to pester him, he wouldn't be able to clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. How could he face his little fairy then? "I'm not considered handsome, and my temperament can only be said to be that of a strong person, the kind that's gentle and reserved. As for my taste, it's even more illusory." Did Irina approach me to collect stamps, or did she have other motives? Could it be that the Samano royal family is really like the vampires in novels where they can do great things by sucking a small amount of my blood? Lu Cheng's thoughts ran wild as his imagination ran wild. After that, there were no more incidents until the Samano royal family arrived at the airport after the farewell banquet and flew out of China. "All right, your mission is over. Sorry to trouble you too." Xue Jian's voice sounded in Lu Cheng and Jia Lu's earphones. "Phew, finally free." Jia Lu took off her walkie-talkie and looked at Lu Cheng. "I can't wait until tomorrow so I can go to the club's training ground to practice my martial arts." "Me too." Lu Cheng smiled and chimed in. Jia Lu's thoughts jumped and she suddenly said, "I haven't sparred with you yet, right? Why don't we not draw lots on Friday and challenge you directly?" She wanted to experience the prowess of the heavenly son of China, find the gap and catch up head-on. "Not this week. Maybe next time." Lu Cheng thought for a while and rejected her suggestion. "But did someone arrange it in advance?" asked Jia Lu, puzzled. Lu Cheng replied with a smile, "I have something on that afternoon and have to take leave." "All right." Jia Lu didn't ask any more questions. She regained the temperament of a bystander who was free from worldly affairs. After Lu Cheng received another round of guidance from the Dragon King and the other physical invulnerability mighty ones, time flew by and it was Friday in the blink of an eye. Ever since he left in the morning and took the SUV to the club, he had been smiling from time to time. He wasn't the least bit annoyed by Amin and Huang Bin's greetings and even took the initiative to chat a little longer. He told them that he wouldn't be having dinner at the restaurant and that he had to leave at 2 in the afternoon and that it would be great if they could arrange for a ride. Amin and Huang Bin couldn't be bothered to guess why he was in such a good mood. They immediately agreed and tried their best to impress him. After spending the entire morning in the dance stage training room, Lu Cheng's efficiency was higher than usual. His appetite was even better at noon and he ate a few more dishes. Just as he was about to tidy up and head to the exclusive resting room, Amin walked in quickly. She smiled and said to all the inhuman mighty ones present, "You can register for the Battle of the Kings now. Who wants to participate? It starts on the 19th of August this year." The Longhu Club's requirement for members of the reserve team was to participate in at least 3 preliminary rounds of the title battle every year. They could choose their own targets. It's rare to have the opportunity to spar with friends of the same level. Tu Zheng was the first to register. Lu Cheng raised his hand and said, "Me too." This was the arrangement that the club had made clear from the start. They would first practice the dance stage chapter of the Fire Sect, then participate in the preliminary rounds of the Battle of the Kings to digest what they had learned through actual combat. Since all of you are going, I'll join in the fun too. Yu Wangyuan, Sun Jianlin, Lu Xiaofei, and Jia Lu said one after another. Even the inhuman mighty ones who weren't members of the reserve team and had been transferred to management positions had registered. The inhuman level was neither high nor low. It wasn't as eye-catching as the physical invulnerability experts, nor was it as down-to-earth as the body forging and low-level dance stage experts. It had always been stuck in the middle and didn't have specialized competitions. Currently, the inhuman level competition with the highest standard was the preliminary rounds of the 5 major title battles. The rising stars of the various top forces and almost all the inhuman mighty ones from other sects would participate. It was just that each of them had their own focus. Currently, the Battle of the Kings and Battle of Warrior Sage were not to be missed. Once one could make it through the preliminary rounds of these 2 competitions, one would be able to declare himself as one of the few strongest below physical invulnerability. After Amin finished registering, she smiled like a flower and said, "This time, there are 16 slots for the Battle of the Kings preliminaries. I wish all of you the best of luck in advancing to the main competition and getting the chance to spar with physical invulnerability experts. Phew, there's always someone better than you. Not to mention those of the same age, those seniors who had been immersed in the inhuman stage for a few years or more than 10 years wouldn't be easy to deal with." Lu Qing thought for a moment and threw this matter to the back of his mind. After all, there was still more than a month to go. After packing up and making some adjustments, he got into the commercial car with a smile on his face and left the club. The most important thing today was to go to the airport to pick up Cuckoo, his wife. Chapter 554. July 17th, Friday, Huaqing, Heishui Airport. Lu Qing sent the driver away and waited patiently. He also teamed up with Little Ming to play a few rounds of games. When the software informed Yenjika that her flight was about to land, he quickly announced that this was the last round and gave away his life absent-mindedly. After a while, the girl turned on her phone and sent a message to confirm that she had landed. "I've been waiting for a long time." "Hands on hips expression," replied Lu Cheng. "You're flying to Kingstown, so am I?" Yenjika said, "Chin up, rolling eyes expression. Just now a boy saw that my luggage was very heavy and wanted to help me carry it. Then he realized that I could do it with one hand." His expression was quite interesting. Good-looking people can really feel the kindness of the world at any time. Lu Qing flattered without leaving a trace. While chatting on and off, his eyes suddenly lit up. He saw Yenjika carrying a small black backpack and dragging an orange suitcase. She walked out and entered the arrival hall. The girl's black hair fell down, slanted bangs, pure and beautiful. She wore a simple white t-shirt and dark denim shorts that only reached half of her thighs. She wore a pair of clip-on sandals, revealing her slender white legs and pink and healthy toes. She looked fresh and youthful. Lu Qing walked up to her, smiled at her and took the suitcase. "You need to be qualified to carry Micah's luggage." He continued the previous topic. "Of course." Yenjika smiled and raised her chin slightly. Lu Qing stopped and stared at her. He suddenly laughed. "I thought you would dress like a fairy, but you're dressed like a girl next door." Yenjika's eyes narrowed. "I'm just afraid that someone can't control himself and let his animal instincts take over. Every time I dress up, someone's eyes are not right. It's like a person who has been hungry for a long time seeing a big meal. Aren't you on your period today? How can I let my animal instincts take over?" Lu Qing felt wronged. Yenjika puffed up her cheeks, widened her eyes and pretended to be angry. "That's why I'm afraid." She was afraid that someone would ask for help in other ways. She thought that after not seeing him for a month, her heart would soften and she would be influenced by him even more. She blushed and didn't finish her sentence. She immediately changed the topic and asked seriously, "Where are we going now? When was I not following the rules and only showing my love during your time?" Lu Qing pretended to be wronged. "You deserve to be praised. Keep up the good work." Yenjika had only said that in a hurry. She immediately pursed her lips and reached out to touch her husband's head. "Do you think I'm a child?" He pulled the girl's wrist and gestured with his chin at the location he had already scouted. "Let's rent a car first. It'll be much more convenient for us to go on dates and buy groceries." He didn't have a driver's license, and he had the club to arrange things for him. Ku could only come to America during the winter and summer holidays. If he bought a car directly, he could only eat dust most of the time. It was better to wait until he had booked a house and moved in before he considered it. During this period, he would rent a car to deal with it. Yenjika nodded lightly and walked a few steps before asking in confusion, "Ching, you got your driver's license?" Based on a certain someone's personality, shouldn't he have come to show off a long time ago? Lu Ching chuckled. "I can only rely on you." Although he could drive by himself, without a driver's license, it was best not to break the law. Yenjika opened her pink mouth, feeling both amused and annoyed. She waved her arms and said, "Okay, I'll drive you." Sigh, as the head of the family, you have so much to worry about and so much responsibility. That's what a head of the family should be like. Lu Ching smiled and flattered Cuckoo. When they arrived at the car rental office, the two went through the formalities and paid part of the fee. They picked an Audi TT that Cuckoo was comfortable with. After seeing the staff leave, Lu Ching signaled Yenjika to wait for a while. Then he opened the car door on both sides and took a deep breath. His abdomen bulged like a ball. He activated the ice spirit force, opened his mouth and sunk his chest and abdomen, exhaling the air he had just inhaled. Suddenly, a strong wind blew in the car and the chill rushed. The accumulated heat of the summer dissipated instantly. It was many times more effective than the air conditioner. Lu Ching did it several times in a row, and the seats in the center console were all back to normal. Yenjika was dumbfounded, staring blankly at the side. "What kind of operation is this?" Lu Ching stopped and straightened his back. He gestured for her to get in and said with a smile, "A friendly reminder. If the car is not parked in a shady place in the summer and has been gone for a long time, you need to cool down and ensure ventilation." Yenjika was stunned for a few seconds. She was not stingy with her praise and shouted in a slightly exaggerated manner, "Brother Chang is awesome. No wonder he is a walking multifunctional home appliance." After getting in the car, she adjusted the distance and height of the seats and closed the doors and windows. When Yenjika was about to adjust the rearview mirror, Lu Ching suddenly leaned over and said with a smile, "Let me help you adjust it." The girl was confused and opened her mouth slightly. She did not understand what he meant. Didn't he know that it could be adjusted electrically? Looking at the cute and beautiful face of his little fairy, Lu Ching kissed her without hesitation. He held her sweet lips in his mouth and explored deeply, dancing with the little fairy. "I'm flirting with you, do you understand?" Yenjika unconsciously raised her arms and hugged Lu Ching. Her eyes were half closed, and the light in her eyes leaked slightly. After a while, she pushed the pervert away. Just as she was about to scold him, she heard him whisper in her ear, "Long time no see." Her heart softened. She muttered, "Don't we talk every day?" "I miss you too." Their eyes met. After a moment of tenderness, Yenjika suddenly laughed and said, "This is your failed flirting with Marshal Nisimo last time, right? You actually used it on me." "No one else." Lu Ching answered proudly. She pursed her lips and smiled. She cleared her throat and said, "Where are we going now? Home first or dinner first?" "Look at you. If your stomach doesn't hurt anymore, we'll go to the Lin's restaurant in the university town to eat white-cut chicken and roast goose. The restaurant that Fatty Jiang brought me to before. If you still feel uncomfortable, we'll go home first. I made some fish soup last night and put it in the fridge. I'll heat it up later and cook some noodles. It'll definitely taste good. I also bought a huge portion of old green preserved egg and lean meat porridge. It's the one that you liked the most when we came to Huacheng to watch the competition last time. I just need to cover it with Emperor Yen force and it can be eaten." Yenjika turned her head and looked straight ahead. She pursed her lips for more than 10 seconds. She couldn't help but smile. She asked in a sweet voice, "What if I want to eat all of them?" "Then we'll eat all of them." Lin's restaurant first, then home. Lu Cheng made a decision. Let's go. Yenjika dragged her last word and started the car briskly. After filling their stomachs, the two returned to Sky Capital Garden. They found a spot and parked the car. I'm so tired. I took a plane, had my period, and drove for so long. Yenjika locked the car door with a beep. She looked at Lu Cheng and massaged his shoulders as she spoke. She looked exactly like him. Yenjika is getting better at acting coquettishly. Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat. Without another word, he walked to the opposite side and squatted down. Come, I'll carry you. I just want you to give me a massage later. Yenjika was stunned at first. Then she laughed out loud. There are other people in the neighborhood, and your teammates too. How embarrassing. It's very quiet here at night. Besides, our house is just around the corner. Lu Cheng enticed her. Yenjika's eyes were sparkling. Her tone was a little hesitant, but her movements were without delay. With his arms supporting his knees, Lu Cheng stood up steadily and carried his wife on his back. Under the illumination of the bright moon and lights, they passed through the quiet atrium and the peaceful night and successfully arrived downstairs. It was said that there was only one apartment on each floor. In fact, there were 2 elevators in each unit to prevent malfunction. Unfortunately, tonight, both elevators were broken. The staff was rushing to repair them. Lu Cheng didn't say anything. He stopped Yenjika from coming down and turned into the safety passageway. Along the stairs, step by step, he climbed higher and higher. 2 slender legs swayed gently beside him. Little Fairy was humming a faint melody in his ears. Europe, John Wilberg. Princess Irina, who had just finished her 2-country visit, entered the study and saw her tutor sitting on a recliner. He was basking in the sun with his eyes closed. Swaying back and forth, he looked like he was in a deep sleep. Go, this is not in line with etiquette. Irina laughed softly. The man on the recliner opened his eyes, which seemed to hide the starry night sky. His hair was mixed with a lot of silver strands, which made him look both old and young. His facial features and skin color indicated that he was Chinese or Chinese. I'm going out for a trip recently. The man smiled. Irina's eyes darkened. She pretended not to care and asked, Going to China? I'm going to see that heavenly son of China. Just for a while. Dan Ran answered calmly. He flicked the quaint robe he was wearing. Irina didn't recognize this kind of clothes with a strong oriental flavor before. Later, she found out through the internet that it was called Yui. The Chinese words that were often paired with it were Yui and Xingguan. P.S. Third update for you. Yesterday's update has been made up. Looking for recommendation tickets on Monday. Chapter 555. After sharing the fish noodle soup and congee with pork and century egg, Lu Cheng and Yenjika sat on the sofa in satisfaction. They leaned against each other and chatted casually, as if anything was fun. The TV in front of them was flashing and changing images, but no one was paying attention to what was on. I always feel like I'm forgetting something. Yenjika frowned and thought hard as she chatted. Lu Cheng tried to recall, but suddenly he was stunned and blurted out, Your suitcase. My suitcase. At the same time, Yenjika also realized what she had forgotten. I was too focused on carrying you. Lu Cheng explained in a low voice, his mouth twitching. Ku's suitcase was still in the car. Romantic feelings were stirred at that time, but then the elevator broke down and he completely forgot about it. Forgot? Hurry up and get it. Yenjika said with a complicated expression. But Lu Cheng immediately got up and walked out of the door. Watching him leave, Yenjika lay down, hugged a pillow, and buried her face in it. She scolded with a smile, 2 idiots. My wit and intelligence are often not seen when I'm with Cheng. No, it must be because of the severe loss of blood and lack of blood supply to the brain, causing my memory to blur. That must be it. When Lu Cheng came back with their luggage, they washed up, changed into their pajamas, and lied on the bed. They laughed about it for a long time, making perfect self-deprecations. The bed was big and they were close. Yenjika put her cold hands and feet on Lu Cheng's body and said hurriedly, "Ever since I started practicing the swordsman formula, I realized that the duration of my period is getting shorter and shorter. After mastering the wholeness formula, I feel better and better. I don't feel tired even if I stay up all night to rush reports or wake up the next morning for morning exercises." That's right. This is their greatest contribution. Lu Cheng praised the 9 words formula delightedly. Yenjika looked up and said thoughtfully, "Cheng, do you think that the 9 words formula will have some hidden effect when they're all combined? Usually, when put together, there will be additional variations. Furthermore, for similar mystic arts, the first word or the last word is usually the most unique. For example, the 6 syllables of Sanskrit mantra starts with the word Weng. It contains the will of Buddha and opens up the following 5 notes. It is said that it has the ability to seal and suppress. The attainment formula doesn't seem to be strange at the moment, but could the confrontation formula be more special? If there is a hidden effect, I hope that it's the kind that can make up for the loss." Lu Cheng thought. "From the 6 words I have mastered, the confrontation formula, and the military said, there." Yenjika was a little sleepy, so she covered her mouth and yawned cutely. But this was the first time they met after a month, so she couldn't bear to sleep. So she found a few topics to chat with Lu Cheng. It was quiet outside, but the sound in the room was soft. It was peaceful and warm. "Hey, isn't that Princess Irina sexy?" Lu Cheng had shared with his little fairy about how Irina had said, "smells good," out of nowhere. Of course, he didn't mention Jia Lu's classic translation. He only brought it up as a topic full of doubts. Yenjika didn't feel that Irina was openly flirting with her husband. After all, Jia Lu was beside them. As a member of the royal family, no matter how open she was, she had to consider her reputation. She couldn't be so direct. Using a sparring match as an excuse was more suitable. As for why she was acting strangely, she couldn't find a reasonable answer even after thinking for a long time. Lu Cheng was relieved to hear Yenjika's question. Otherwise, he would be breaking out in cold sweat. He pondered for a few seconds before answering firmly, "I don't think so." "Which part of her is sexy? Your answer is so fake and exaggerated." Yenjika glanced at Lu Cheng and snorted. "Many people on Weibo are saying that Princess Irina is sexy. Below those news articles." Lu Cheng said casually, "Everyone has their own opinions. Anyway, I don't think so. I've seen films before and thought they were too big and out of shape." "Oh." Yenjika pursed her lips. "So you like flat breasts?" "I like the right size. For example." Lu Cheng chuckled. Before he could finish, he was punched hard by his little fairy and couldn't continue. Yenjika's eyes narrowed. She propped herself up on her elbows and moved closer to Lu Cheng's head. Her nose twitched and she sniffed from top to bottom. "Which part of your smell is good? Why can't I feel it?" The sweet fragrance assailed his nostrils. Her breath tickled his heart. Her delicate body pressed against him and rubbed against him. Lu Cheng's heart rippled. Desire rose rapidly and he couldn't control himself anymore. "You pervert!" The girl felt a familiar resistance. She was stunned at first. Then she rolled her eyes and scolded him with blushing cheeks. "So it's my fault?" Lu Cheng smiled embarrassedly. "It's all because my little fairy is too charming." He condensed water into ice and turned the lake into a mirror. Looking down from above, he restrained his desire and controlled the subtle flow of his qi and blood. The tent collapsed instantly. Yenjika was stunned for a moment. She sighed blankly. How magical! Ever since he entered the realm of all-seeing God, Cheng had developed a lot of strange abilities. After such an interruption, she forgot about the smell. After chatting for a while, they kissed deeply and said goodnight to each other. The night passed peacefully until dawn. The next morning, after the couple finished their training, they drove to Longhu Club. "Why don't I go?" The closer they got, the more shy Yenjika felt. They were all strangers. She felt embarrassed. "What are you afraid of? We are legally married." Haven't you always wanted to eat breakfast at our restaurant and visit the club's exhibition room? Lu Cheng smiled and said enchantingly. Yenjika bit her lower lip lightly. She decided to hide her face in her pocket. Well, actually I want to go to the places you've been to and experience the life you've lived. When they arrived at the club and parked the car, Lu Cheng saw Amin and Huang Bin approaching before they could enter. I mentioned her yesterday. She's my wife. Lu Cheng introduced Yenjika frankly. He had called the assistant team and told them that he would be bringing his family to visit the club today. He also asked the kitchen to prepare more dishes. Your girlfriend is so pretty. Amin complimented sincerely. Wife, it's my wife. Lu Cheng emphasized in his heart. While casually exchanging pleasantries, he pulled Yenjika, who had suddenly become gentle and graceful, into the club and into the restaurant under the escort of Amin and Huang Bin. As the two of them were whispering sweet nothings, they left home late. There was no one in the restaurant for breakfast, giving them a quiet date. After filling their stomachs, they went to the exhibition room on the 3rd floor. It was very spacious, with all kinds of trophies on display. There was also a room dedicated to broadcasting Longhu Club's glorious moments and classic battles. I feel like I can watch this for many days. Yenjika sighed. She turned to Lu Cheng and said, You go ahead and practice. I'll be fine here. Seeing Lu Cheng hesitate, Amin stood up immediately. Mr. Lu, don't worry. I'm free today. I'll keep Miss Yen company. I won't let her be unfamiliar with this place. Everything else could be pushed aside. Thank you. Lu Cheng was relieved. He smiled sincerely and nodded. His impression of Amin improved instantly. This girl is very reliable. I'm going to the training room. Let's talk on QQ. Lu Cheng raised his phone to Yenjika and got a sweet smile in response. Huang Bin, who was watching from the side, felt bitter. He wanted to compete with Lu Cheng, but he didn't dare. A grown man trying to curry favor with Lu Cheng's girlfriend. No matter how sincere he was, it would make Lu Cheng feel uncomfortable. It would be counterproductive. Sigh, this society is unfair to men and women, but sometimes it's more convenient for girls to do things. Amin didn't notice Huang Bin's expression. Her mind was filled with Lu Cheng's sincere thanks. This is unprecedented. She suddenly felt that she had found the pulse of this heavenly son of the era. He's probably a henpecked husband. Pleasing his girlfriend is more effective than pleasing him. They focused on practicing martial arts and chatted occasionally. Once it was noon, Lu Cheng immediately left the training room. He went to the exhibition room to watch classic battles with his little fairy for half an hour before heading to the dining hall again. At this time, Tu Zheng, Jia Lu and the rest were still eating halfway and hadn't left yet. This is my wife, Yenjika. Lu Cheng smiled and introduced her to everyone. This is the captain of our reserve team, Tu Zheng and Team Tuesday. This is Yu Wang Yuan, a perfect match. Tu Zheng and the rest praised with a smile. She's also very talented. Lu Cheng complimented. He didn't exchange more pleasantries with them and pulled Yenjika to choose the food. When the table was filled with food, Yenjika looked left and right. She lowered her voice and laughed. It feels like I'm here to declare my sovereignty. Yeah, do you want a stamp? Lu Cheng raised his arm and said humorously. Just a stamp that says only for little fairy? Yenjika looked up and said jokingly, I want to cover my face so that everyone can see it at a glance. Come. Lu Cheng laughed and pointed to his mouth. In return, he got a flirtatious look. Just like that, the two of them settled down in watching. They went on dates during the weekends. Usually, one would focus on practicing martial arts and rest early while the other would visit, study, discuss, or interact. It was a sweet and warm life. When the girls' period was over, Lu Cheng almost tasted the feeling of not attending morning court. Fortunately, he persevered with great perseverance. In the blink of an eye, August came. Longhu Club would begin its 2-week away trip. Yenjika would have to return to Xioshan in the middle of the month to spend some time with Father Yen and Empress Dowager. She would come back for another 2 or 3 days before flying to Connecticut. She would depart from Huaqing. August 5th. The night was dark and the sea was dark. A ship sailed over the international waters and stopped at the border. Alright, you can go back now. A man wearing a simple feathered coat said to the ship owner. His black hair was mixed with silver strands, but he looked very young. The ship owner looked left and right but didn't see anyone coming to help. At this moment, his heart skipped a beat. He turned around and saw that the strangely dressed man was nowhere to be seen. Splash! The sea crashed onto the shore and rolled up waves. A figure walked out of the water. His hair was wet and his clothes were sticking to him. Stepping onto the beach, the man walked while ice flakes fell. In the end, white steam rose around him and he was as dry as before. P.S. Looking for recommendation tickets on Monday. Chapter 556. August 9th, Sunday, 8:00 p.m. A taxi turned the corner and headed for Sky Capital Garden. Lu Cheng sat on the right and looked out of the window. He suggested to Yen Zheke, "Why don't we let the driver drive us there and buy some fruits before we go home?" Ke had always been full of praise for the fruits in Huaqing. "No, there's more in the fridge." She made a gesture to relax her neck. "I'm so tired from the flight." The Longhu Club's competition this week was to go north to Jinfeng City and challenge the Guanwei League. They had almost crossed the entire country. Lu Cheng and Yen Zheke set off on Thursday, August 6th. They went to see Xing Jingjing and watch the battle. It was a short trip, so it was inevitable that they were tired from the long journey. "Yeah, you're right. Even my waist and back are a little sore." Lu Cheng tried to agree but was stopped by the girl's expression. He quickly changed the topic and said with an embarrassed smile, "It's a pity that we're not going to Jinfeng in winter. I want to buy a popsicle on their central street. It must be very interesting." Yen Zheke said excitedly, "Also, there are holes in the ice to catch fish, downhill skiing, and..." She listed her unfulfilled wishes one by one, as if she was making a list. "Yeah, we'll go again next time." Lu Cheng recalled the delicious food. "I think their stewed fish is just so. Maybe it's because I didn't eat good food. But the Korean food is pretty good. Yeah, we didn't have the chance to eat the barbecue skewers this time. I wonder what's the difference between the barbecue skewers in Xioshan, Songqing, and Huadu." Yen Zheke rolled her eyes and suddenly felt a little hungry. At this time, the taxi stopped at the main entrance of Sky Capital Garden. Lu Cheng paid with his mobile phone and got off first. He took his backpack and his wife's luggage so that they wouldn't forget. Hand in hand, they walked slowly. After a few steps, they suddenly saw a shadow coming out from the side of the road and going to the opposite side of the road. Lu Cheng looked and found a man in a short-sleeved polo shirt. He looked very young, but his black hair was mixed with a lot of silver, so it was hard to tell his age. The man looked straight ahead, as if he was waiting for something, but it didn't happen, so he planned to leave. When they brushed past each other, Lu Cheng felt a slight change in the jindan in his lower abdomen. However, when he formed the ice mirror and examined it carefully, he didn't discover anything. It seemed to be just an illusion. "What's wrong?" Yen Zheke sensed something and turned her head in confusion. "Nothing." Lu Cheng shook his head and answered. In the end, the jindan was only an external object and did not belong to him. He hoped that he could gather the 9 words formula as soon as possible and figure out its mysteries so that he would not be taken advantage of in the future. From the corner of his eyes, he saw that the man just now had waved his hand and stopped a passing taxi. He got into the taxi and left the place without doing anything strange. After the confusion dissipated, Lu Cheng threw this matter to the back of his mind and returned home with his wife. The two searched for ingredients in the fridge and helped each other to make 2 bowls of noodles for supper. "If I eat like you every day, I'll get fat sooner or later." Yen Zheke looked at the 2 empty bowls with grievance. "Well, a certain someone's basin, you can watch me eat." Lu Cheng snickered. "Great, you bully me. You only let me watch and not let me eat." Yen Zheke's eyes sparkled and she smiled. Lu Cheng didn't dare to continue this topic. He sighed and said, "Sigh, you're going back to Xioshan tomorrow?" Half a month had passed so quickly. Yen Zheke bit her lower lip and pretended to be energetic. "So, tonight we'll watch the stars and the moon and talk about poetry and life philosophy." This line sounds familiar. Lu Cheng thought carefully and finally understood. He was amused. Laughter washed away the sadness of separation. However, in the middle of the night, the couple really did cuddle up and look at the bright moon outside the window. The lights in the room were off. It was cold outside, and the light shone into the room, dyeing the dark country into a dreamy dream. Yenjika curled up in Lu Cheng's arms and pressed her skin against his, refusing to sleep. After I graduate, I want to do something big. I want to expand my mom's company to Huadu. As she spoke, she laughed to herself. But I don't like to socialize. I guess I can only be a consultant. I can't let my brother Cheng eat alone all the time. Or I can apply for a job at a university in Huadu and take the path of a scholar to study economic issues. Seeing Yenjika talking about the future, Lu Cheng said with a look of longing, I've pretty much mastered the dance stage chapter of the fire sect. I'm good at some, but I'm only at the beginner level. After the training in the Battle of the King's preliminaries, I should be a genuine senior fourth pin expert. Next February, before my birthday, I'll strive to reach the level close to physical invulnerability. Yes, with the realm of encountering gods in the void, self-reflection, this shouldn't be too much of an obstacle. Think about it. Ice mirror can reflect a certain area around itself with precision down to the millimeter. Isn't it a little similar to the most basic thing in heavenly connection? When the time comes, I'll give myself 3 years to break through to physical invulnerability. I can't stay too long, or I'll lose my drive and drive. I can't stay too short either. Once I get impatient and anxious, things will get troublesome. I feel like the gap between us is getting bigger. Yenjika didn't hide her sigh and worry, seeking her husband's comfort. How can that be? You'll always be the head of the family. Lu Cheng answered without hesitation. Wait until I find a way to help you make up for your congenital deficiency. You'll definitely have no problem reaching the dance stage. It's hard to say if you're not human, but you'll definitely awaken supernatural abilities. Then you won't have to worry about it. You promise? Yenjika was just worried for a moment, but she quickly adjusted. She had always been a girl with super confidence. Then let's pinky swear? You're so childish. Come on, don't be angry. I like you like this the most. Her words echoed. It was a peaceful night. The same night, the same moon. In a rented house in the middle of Huadu City. A man with black hair mixed with silver strands sat in front of the window. His expression was still a little excited. Although it wasn't the same kind as he had expected, he had discovered something that even he couldn't believe. This trip wasn't in vain. No, it wasn't just in vain. Whether he was a dragon or a snake in the future would depend on this encounter. He turned on his newly bought second-hand computer and seriously studied Lu Cheng's recent battle videos. He also glanced in the direction of the Longhu Club and estimated the situation in various aspects. I have to find a good time. The next day, Lu Cheng woke up early. However, he was tempted by his little fairy and didn't go for his morning exercise, which was rare. When Yenjika's flight took off, he made up for his training and punctually attended the tutorial class for physical invulnerability Mighty Ones in the afternoon. In the blink of an eye, it was Friday again. However, the training session for the reserve team was cancelled. This was because the next week was the preliminaries for the Battle of the Kings. They had to depart on Sunday. Everyone had to adjust their physical and mental states in advance to deal with this. On the afternoon of August 16th, on the high-speed train to Linfu, Lu Cheng sat by the window and chatted with Yenjika about the title battle on his phone. In his free time, he found Priest and sent him a message. Do you have a date? After sending it, he suddenly felt that something was amiss. He quickly added, a date for the Battle of the Kings? More than 10 seconds later, Peng Liyun sent an emoji wiping cold sweat. I thought your account was hacked. Without waiting for a reply, he quickly added, I'm also in the realm of encountering gods in the void. Let me give you a reminder so that you won't be careless. If you want to win, you have to win against an opponent in the best condition, right? This guy's improvement is fast. Lu Cheng secretly praised. Laughing out loud expression, he replied, I think so too. Priest actually dared to reveal his strength now? Has he developed his wave after wave divine skill before the competition? Peng Liyun didn't continue on this topic. He changed the topic and said, Renli is confirmed to be participating. Daxing Temple has also sent a few outstanding mighty ones. The same goes for the other sects and families. Don't underestimate them. Speaking of which, I haven't really fought with a direct disciple of Daxing Temple. This is a good opportunity to experience it. Hands on hips expression, Lu Qing said excitedly. I say, Lu Qing, can you not send me childish emojis when you're talking to me online? Every time I see you send such emojis, I'm thinking how sad it is to be defeated by such an opponent. Peng Liun sent an emoji covering his face and sighing. He didn't delete all the words. Damn, Taoist, you have such a venomous tongue? Also, what does that too mean? Explain. Before Lu Qing could type, a message from Renli suddenly came in. Lu Qing, I think we've only fought once? And it's a draw. Let's determine the winner this time. Sure. Lu Qing agreed without hesitation. At this moment, he thought of An Chaoyang and wondered if he should ask Hipster if he would be participating in the preliminaries of Battle of the Kings. This guy had said a while ago that he was about to break through. Did he? Before Lu Qing could ask An Chaoyang, Hipster had already sent him a message. I'm in Linfu. Want to meet for dinner tonight? Sure. Lu Qing sent an emoji of, there's only one truth. You've broken through? Yeah, I've finally reached the inhuman stage. I've also stabilized my foundation. And Chaoyang replied, half happy and half sad. Congrats, congrats. Lu Qing glanced at Tu Zheng and the rest at the side and lowered his head again. He found a name but didn't dare to ask. This name was brother-in-law. Ku said that he hadn't broken through in June. If he were to ask if he would be participating in the Battle of the Kings, it would definitely be a blow to him. Forget it, there's still a chance in the future. Lu Qing was in a slightly complicated mood when the high-speed train stopped at Linfu Station. This was a city famous for the Battle of the Kings. Chapter 557. The sea breeze passed through the crowded city, leaving no unique smell behind. The tourists coming and going spoke Mandarin with various accents, and most of them looked excited. To them, it was not only to watch the competition, but also to take the opportunity to have a vacation. It had to be said that the timing of the Battle of the Kings preliminaries was quite good. During the summer holidays, the students were free, and their parents would take time to accompany them. It complemented well with the Battle of the Warrior Sage preliminaries before the end of the year. When the Longhu Club arrived at the Wanhua Hotel where they were staying, the lobby was already filled with welcoming crowds. Some were youthful, some were full of youthful energy, some were full of vigor, some were over the age of 30, some were mature with joy, and some were just reporters. Lu Qing, what is your goal for this Battle of the Kings? Do you have the confidence to get a spot in the main competition? Who are you looking forward to the most? Peng Lian, Ren Li, or the warrior monk from Daxing Temple? Hello Tu Zheng. I heard you won against Lu Qing in the sparring session. Will you make use of this Battle of the Kings to make a breakthrough? Meng Liang from Shizhou Island, who defeated you last time, has also registered. Do you have anything to say? The most popular and newsworthy ones were undoubtedly Lu Qing, the heavenly son of China, and Tu Zheng, who was expected to reach physical invulnerability within 2 years. This made Yu Wangyuan, Lu Xiaofei, and the others, who only had a few reporters following them, feel disappointed. What made them sigh even more was that the few reporters only interviewed them because they couldn't squeeze in beside Lu Qing and Tu Zheng. With comparison, there was motivation. They secretly clenched their fists, their eyes burning with passion. Alright, everyone, please make way. If you have any questions, we will arrange for a special interview time. The deputy director of the Foreign Affairs team and the leader of this Battle of the Kings, Xiang Tong, slightly unleashed his aura and opened up a path. The hotel's security also formed a human wall, isolating the outside from the outside. Lu Qing remembered Coach Yan's guidance. At times like this, all he had to do was smile. Occasionally, when he saw fans stretching their arms, he would happily take the pen and paper, sign his name, and hand it back. In exchange, he would be greeted with screams of Lu Qing. After trekking for a while, they finally entered the elevator and arrived at the 33rd floor. It was quiet all around. This is an individual competition, so there are no hard and fast rules. There are only 2 reminders. Leader Xiang Tong clapped his hands and said with a smile, "First, don't miss the competition. Second, try not to cause any trouble." "Okay." Everyone answered casually. Then, they took their room cards and went to look for their rooms. Lu Cheng told the team leader in private that he would not be joining them for dinner because he had an appointment with his friend. "No problem, as long as it doesn't affect your condition." Xiang Tong smiled ambiguously and nodded. "What kind of thinking is this?" Lu Cheng emphasized, "Male friends." "Oh." Xiang Tong's eyes suddenly became strange. He took a step back and then laughed. "I'm just kidding." "Psycho." Lu Cheng's mouth twitched as he cursed in his heart. He was deeply concerned about the leader's brain. After entering the room, Lu Cheng put away his luggage and tidied up. He waited for a while until the sky turned dark. Then he put on his black-rimmed glasses, changed his clothes, and slipped out of the hotel. He walked on the hot road. After leaving the Wanhua Hotel, he stopped the taxi and went to Guanqiao Street. The street was full of seafood stalls. It was crowded and bustling. In front of the well-decorated Lin Fu Century Grilled Fish restaurant, and Chaoyang, who still had his artistic hair, was wearing headphones. His hands were in his pockets and his eyes were half closed. He looked peaceful as if he was sleeping. "I've made a reservation." He smiled and greeted Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng's nose twitched as he tried to distinguish the smell in the air. "It smells good. A local friend recommended it. It can't be wrong." And Chaoyang smiled and turned to enter the restaurant. "A local friend," Lu Cheng casually repeated. And Chaoyang looked as if he would fall asleep at any moment. "I met him on a travel forum. He likes music." "Sounds complicated." Lu Cheng pulled out a chair and sat down. He looked around and said, "Should we order the fish first or wait for Priest and Renli?" "Let's order first. We eat a lot, so we need to prepare." And Chaoyang thought for a while and asked, "How long before they arrive?" "Aren't you the one contacting them?" Lu Cheng asked blankly. "I thought you would contact them." And Chaoyang stared at him. "Shouldn't it be the person who is supposed to treat?" After a short pause, Lu Cheng tried to shift the blame. "When we were in Xinxiang, you were the one who was more active and contacted everyone." And Chaoyang analyzed his thoughts. There was another moment of silence. Lu Cheng sighed and picked up his phone. "Should I ask them out now?" "Forget it. It's almost dinner time. They're either not here yet or have already eaten. Let's meet again in a few days." And Chaoyang laughed at himself and got up to order the fish. When he came back, he sat back down and took off his headphones. He put them aside and put them on. He put on a serious expression as he ate and chatted with Lu Cheng. "Hipster, this is the highest respect you can give your friends, right?" Lu Cheng joked. Even though he didn't listen in the past, he would still hang his headphones around his neck. "Are you praising me or mocking me?" And Chaoyang laughed. "How is it? Have you mastered the Dan stage chapter of the Fire Sect?" "I've already mastered what I need to," Lu Cheng answered concisely. He then asked, "What are your plans this time? Are you going to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat?" "Don't make fun of me." And Chaoyang laughed and shook his head. "I just broke through not long ago and have just stabilized. I'm just here to see the world and train myself. I don't have any extravagant hopes. You, on the other hand, haven't you thought about getting a spot in the main competition?" "I'd be lying if I said I didn't," Lu Cheng answered honestly. "Then you'll have a lot of competition. This time, all the strongest reserves and seniors of the top forces are here. Many of them are on par with Tu Zheng or even stronger. For example, Fa Zhen and Ji Rin from Daxing Temple, Ming Shi from Shangqing Sect, Go Wen from Xuanwu Sect, Qing Feng from Shushan Study, Wang Xian from Yanzhao League, Zheng Shiduo from Guanwai League, Meng Liang from Shizhou Island." And Chaoyang said as he pondered, "Fa Zhen is here too? He's from my grandfather's generation?" Lu Cheng was shocked. Fa Zhen was the junior brother of Daxing Temple's Abbot Fa Yuan and the martial uncle of Wisdom King Zhihai. He was 51 years old this year and belonged to Geezer Shi's generation of inhuman mighty ones. He had been a reserve physical invulnerability expert for more than 20 years. Unfortunately, he hadn't been able to break through. Although it was hopeless now, he had been at the peak of inhuman for so many years and his body hadn't deteriorated. He was definitely an expert not to be underestimated. But didn't this old man, no, the eminent monk, cultivate his mind and spirit and meditate on Wukong? Why did he come here to register for the Battle of the King's preliminaries? As for Jiren, he was the senior brother of Wisdom King Jihai and Living Buddha Shirshan. He was 29 years old and had a chance of attaining physical invulnerability. Living Buddha was different from the orthodox lineage of Daxing Temple and had a different title. As for Ming Shi, Go Wen, and the rest, although they weren't heavenly sons of the era, they were reserve physical invulnerability experts of various big forces. Go Wen was the strongest expert of Xuanwu sect, the former warrior sage and grandmaster, Long Dam that protects the sea, Ma Xinghong, believed that she would break through in the coming year. Hearing Lu Cheng's surprise, and Chaoyang smiled and said, Senior Ephesian has always had a regret. He has never entered the Battle of the King's main competition. Therefore, he is here to fulfill his wish. He's bullying the younger generation. Lu Cheng joked. Including the second and third Inhumans, the police force, martial arts school, and the mighty ones who have transitioned into different professions, the number of people who have registered for this preliminaries is probably more than 400. And Chaoyang sipped his tea and discussed the Battle of the Kings with Lu Cheng. Of course, this didn't equate to all the Inhumans. They had a great time talking about this topic that everyone was interested in. The grilled fish was delicious too. It was fragrant and made people want to eat more. After the fun, Lu Cheng returned to the hotel and video called Yenjika to talk about the mighty ones he had just mentioned. The next evening, the registration closed. 2 hours later, the organizer announced the matchups for the first round. The competition this time would be held in 4 venues at the same time. There would be battles in the morning, afternoon, and night. The first round would last for 2 days. It would be a single elimination round. After that, it would be the same. When there were 64 people left, the double elimination round would begin. The remaining 16 people would enter the main competition. Lu Cheng browsed the web, looking for his name. He saw Peng Liyun, Ren Li, Go Wen, Ephesian, and the others. He realized that their opponents weren't popular. Finally, he saw himself. Morning of the 19th, Guanhai Martial Arts Stadium, 6th round, Longhu Club, Lu Cheng. On the other side of the dash was Chizhou Island, Lin Yu. Cheng, this is a famous senior. Beep. Yenjika sent a message. Lu Cheng copied the name and typed it into the search box. Soon, he got the information of his opponent. Lin Yu, 42 years old. He had been at the Inhuman stage for 16 years. His immortal flesh was terrifyingly strong. He had been at the high pin level for a total of 16 years. I just want to enter the second round uneventfully. Lu Cheng replied to Ku with an emoji of covering its face and sighing. In a small hotel in Linfu, a man with black hair mixed with silver strands looked at the computer screen and shook his head slightly. On the morning of the 19th, a reporter stopped Lin Yu outside the Guanhai Martial Arts Stadium. He asked the successful mighty one, "What are your thoughts on picking Lu Cheng?" Lin Yu smiled and said, "Beat him while I still have the chance." Chapter 558. After answering, Lin Yu didn't stay any longer. He took large strides and entered the Guanhai Martial Arts Stadium. The reporter didn't dare to pester him as he was afraid that he would be accused of harassing a martial artist before the match and affect his condition. Just as he was about to take a short break and drink some water, he suddenly saw a car stop at the side door. Tu Zheng, Lu Xiaofei and Lu Cheng alighted. The 10 Inhuman Mighty Ones from the Longhu Club were arranged at 3 different venues. Joy and excitement surged in his heart. He hurried over and blocked Lu Cheng's way before he could enter the room. Huff, huff, I only have 2 questions, he panted half realistically and half pretentiously to show that his job wasn't easy. The few security guards at the side looked at Lu Cheng and waited for his reply. If he wasn't willing, they would immediately take action and separate the reporter. Lu Cheng was relatively calm. Seeing that there was no one around and that he wouldn't be surrounded, he nodded gently and said, "All right." The reporter immediately blurted out, "Do you have the confidence to stand out among the mighty ones like Go Wen, Fa Zhen, Ji Ren, Meng Liang and Tu Zheng? What are your chances of defeating them?" "That's 2 questions," reminded Lu Cheng with a smile. He then shook his head and said, "But I don't want to answer." The reporter was stunned for a moment. "Not asking me about the upcoming match and instead mentioning other martial artists? This is disrespectful to Senior Lin Yu," said Lu Cheng seriously. The reporter nodded thoughtfully. "Then what are your thoughts on the upcoming battle?" "I'll work hard to win," answered Lu Cheng firmly. Seeing that Tu Zheng and Lu Xiaofei had already entered the side door and were waiting for him in front, he waved his hand. Without waiting for the reporter to speak, he followed them in a flash. "There's still one more question," shouted the reporter, his voice trailing off. "Should I use the headline, 'Lu Cheng goes back on his words,' or 'A heavenly son of the era doesn't know how to count,' to attract more attention?" He mischievously thought about how funny it would be. Back to the topic. With the interview just now, I can already create a headline news. Every Inhuman was an expert with status and position. Lin Fu, which was famous for hosting the Battle of the Kings, naturally had a special design for the martial arts stadium. A few of the changing rooms were no longer so spacious that they could accommodate 10 to 20 people at the same time. Instead, they were partitioned into small resting rooms. There were individual bathrooms, couches for temporary sleeping, cabinets, Wi-Fi, and LCD TVs hanging on the wall. They had to ensure that there were enough of them to satisfy the needs of the experts. Lu Cheng's, Tu Zheng's, and Lu Xiaofei's rooms were next to each other. After exchanging a few pleasantries, the 3 of them went back to their own homes to make preparations and adjustments before the match. Not long after, the first match of the Guanhai Martial Arts Gym began to play on the TV screen. This year's Battle of the Kings had officially begun. It was different from the individual competitions of lower ranks. Due to the fact that high-ranked fights would affect the surrounding areas, one arena could not be divided into 5 or even 10 arenas to prevent them from getting too close to each other and affecting each other. That was why only the central arena had fights. The surrounding arenas were empty, acting as isolation zones. In this way, in addition to the seats closest to the arena being empty, the safety of the audience and the need to watch the matches in clear view were met. Lu Cheng turned the channel leisurely. Sometimes he would watch the local matches, and sometimes he would pay attention to the fights in other arenas. During this process, he held his phone in his hand and exchanged views with Yan Zhika as they discussed their opponents. Only when the 4th match of the Guanhai Martial Arts Gym ended did he lock the screen. Leaning back, he closed his eyes and recharged his energy. Through the fine control of his body, his condition quickly climbed to the peak. In Lu Cheng's fan forum, Eternal Nightfall, Yan Xiaoling commented, excited. "It's been 4 months. I can finally watch my Lu Cheng's matches again. I've captured a Liaozi. Where have you been recently?" Unparalleled Dragon King was shocked. Yan Xiaoling replied matter-of-factly, "I haven't been missing. I've been lying in bed every day, watching TV programs and dramas. I've also been reading the forums every day. I've been busy managing them. It's just that I'm too lazy to type." "You're lazy to a certain extent," Brahmin replied. "I wasn't even this dispirited after my middle school exams." She had just graduated from her 3rd year of middle school this year. "I'll be in my 3rd year when school reopens. In a year, I'll be in my 4th year. In another year, I'll be working. Just let me cherish the last few times I'm dispirited." Yan Xiaoling didn't feel ashamed at all. "Look, even a lazy person like me has specially come to the forum to discuss the match. Lu Cheng will definitely win today. Sure, keep a low profile. Save your luck. All the good names are taken by dogs," replied. A lot of cats also popped up. "Yan Xiaoling, have you memorized the vocabulary yet? Don't mention such unpleasant things when I'm looking forward to it." Crying face emoji, Yan Xiaoling replied. "Lin Yu is not easy to win," Unparalleled Dragon King emphasized. Bull Demon King laughed. "Yeah. Just the fact that he beat Dragon King and Warrior Sage in the past is enough for him to brag about for the rest of his life. He beat Dragon King and Warrior Sage. Falling to the ground expression, Nye Chi-Chi expressed her shock. He won once. That was when Warrior Sage and Dragon King had just entered the Inhuman stage. With the strength of a senior 4th pin, he won one match in the Master Battle and one in the Supreme Class Battle. Unparalleled Dragon King explained with a smile. As expected of a senior, Brahmin heaved a sigh of relief and praised. This is all old news. The martial art that I'm most envious of in my life is the immortal flesh. Okamoto's fan snickered. What's the most important thing for a man? He's soft when he needs to be and hard when he needs to be. He's so dirty that he can't even see his own fingers. Is the immortal flesh very powerful? Yen Shaoling, a half-assed martial arts enthusiast, maintained her good habit of asking questions whenever she didn't understand. The most powerful martial art of Shizhou Island. What do you think? Unparalleled Dragon King described. Not only does it have great strength and endurance, but it can also nullify or reduce the effects of most poisons. It's impenetrable by fire, impenetrable by water, and has extremely strong recovery ability. In short, it's like wearing a reflective armor. Is he fine even if he doesn't eat, drink, or go to the toilet for a long time? Eyes wide open expression, asked Yen Shaoling. This senior is very powerful, but Lu Cheng will definitely win. Theoretically. A plumber eating mushrooms, replied, wandering over. Yen Shaoling sent an expression of slamming the table. I'm so envious. If I can master it, I can really not get out of bed for a month. Everyone was speechless. After more than 20 minutes, Lu Cheng suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were shining like the brightest stars in the dark night sky. After waiting for more than 10 seconds, there was a rhythmic knock on the door of the resting room. It was neither light nor heavy, just right. Who is it? Lu Cheng asked knowingly. Mr. Lu, your match is about to start. It's time for you to go on stage. The staff member lowered his voice, afraid that he would disturb the other Inhuman experts in the resting room. All right. Lu Cheng picked up his phone and asked for a love cheer from his wife. He opened the door and walked out of the area with the staff member. He walked into the competition venue. Lu Cheng! Lu Cheng! Shouts rang out suddenly, gathering and soaring to the sky. It was as if they could flip the roof of the stadium. This familiar feeling made Lu Cheng's body tremble slightly. It was as if he had returned to the national competition. How nostalgic! How I like it! He waved to the surroundings and walked to the side of the arena amidst even more enthusiastic cheers. He walked up the stone steps without showing off his aura. It was like the calm before a snowstorm. Lin Yu was already waiting on the opposite side. He was about 1.8 tall and his golden martial arts suit swelled slightly with the rhythm of his breathing. It was as if he had a unique vitality. He had a thin buzz cut, thick eyebrows, and deep eyes. He had a calm temperament and sharp edges. There was nothing special about his facial features. He looked more like a successful person from a debt collection company than a martial artist. Seeing Lu Cheng enter the arena, he smiled and nodded with a relaxed expression. Lu Cheng, who had handed his belongings to the competition supervisor, returned the greeting calmly. The referee checked the clock and raised his right hand. Conversation time starts now. Lin Yu cleared his throat and smiled. In this place, I have met the Dragon King, the Martial Sage, the Wisdom King, the Living Buddha, and many talented young people. Lu Cheng didn't interrupt him and patiently waited for him to finish. I won very few of these matches and lost many of them. But now that I think about it, every match is as fresh as if it had just happened. When I first had no chance to reach the physical invulnerability stage, I was very depressed and didn't participate in title matches for a few years. When I finally calmed down, I realized how much I missed this place. I missed those unique opponents. The Dragon King's aggressive nature and the Warrior Sage's oppressive aura. So I came back and witnessed the young people either soaring to the clouds or leaving dejectedly. I saw the living Buddha who seemed to be able to see through everything and the wisdom king who didn't bother with work and kept the complexity simple. As he talked about this topic, the lines on his face seemed to soften. I'm not saying this to provoke you or anything else. I'm telling you that I'll enjoy fighting another heavenly son of the era. Lin Yu's eyes lit up as if they were filled with an indescribable vitality. Then please enlighten me, Senior. Lu Qing was moved and sincerely admired him. This is a pure martial artist. Senior? If your master hears this, he'll give you a tight slap. Lin Yu laughed. We have to talk as equals. I keep forgetting the fact that my master is very senior. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. For the rest of the time, both of them didn't speak and kept themselves in peak condition. The referee glanced at the electronic clock and swung his arm down. His voice shook the surroundings. Begin. Lu Cheng's first title match had officially begun. Bam! He twisted his waist and broke through the air barrier. Stirring up a strong wind, he flashed to Lin Yu's left side at high speed. He didn't want to fight head-on with his opponent. Lin Yu stood there without any reaction, like an immovable mountain. Bam! Lu Qing gathered his breathing and blood, shook his shoulders, and punched with his right fist towards his opponent's temple. Lin Yu raised his arm to block, his muscles bulging naturally as he blocked. At this moment, the Emperor Yen force in Lu Cheng's fist exploded, creating a downward force. Bam! He swung his arm and his fist changed direction strangely, smashing down on Lin Yu's neck. The 15th style of the fire sect, jet spray. At this critical moment, Lin Yu suddenly took a deep breath. His neck swelled like a python that had swallowed an elephant. His skin was stretched to its limits, glistening with a mixture of green and red. Lu Cheng's punch landed, creating ripples as if he had hit something made of thousands of pieces of cowhide. Lin Yu had actually blocked his attack with his fragile neck. Indestructible flesh, elephant swallowing. Lu Qing was prepared. He flicked his joints, spread his fingers, and shot out a few aurora for a second attack. However, Lin Yu only tilted his head to avoid hitting his arteries, allowing the crystal cold light to pierce through his tough skin and into his neck. Bam! At the same time, he threw out a punch, forcing Lu Qing to retreat, unwilling to fight him in close combat. Bush, bush, bush. The ice spikes on his neck popped out. No blood flowed, and the wound wriggled, quickly healing. Heroes indeed come from the young. He moved his neck and chuckled. Chapter 559. Heroes indeed come from the young. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Yu's bones cracked and his muscles tightened and loosened. It was as if there were thousands of lungs in his body that were pulling bellows, creating a roar that reverberated in the stadium, forcibly suppressing the waves of cheers. It was as if an army of fierce tigers was roaring in the forest. Bam! Lin Yu took a big stride forward, using distance reduction and exploding the air barrier, causing the strong wind to hit Lu Cheng's face. He raised his right arm, seemingly clenching his fist like a tiger's claw. He swung it down fiercely, creating another tiger's roar and leaving a trail of white air behind him. The tiger has become a demon. Praised unparalleled Dragon King in Lu Cheng's fan form. To be able to practice the most common tiger form to such an extent and display such a level, it was truly not easy. Lu Qing didn't dodge. Instead, he quickly visualized as Lin Yu closed in. First, it was the deep and cold universe, followed by the appearance of thunderclouds that broke the silence. Using the realm of encountering gods in the void, he reduced the preparation of his muscles, fascias, organs, and chi and blood. He shook his right shoulder and swung his arm upwards. His fist shot into the sky like a cannonball. Severe warning. In a battle of this level, Lin Yu's attacks weren't tight enough, nor were they roundabout. This gave him enough opportunities to use simplified physical invulnerability moves. He wanted to see if his opponent was equally outstanding in terms of mental strength apart from physical strength. Bam! Lu Cheng's sky rocket cannon hit his opponent's swinging fist. A cold light flashed and covered the entire area. The tiger claw that was about to pop out froze on the spot. Lin Yu's eyes were blank, as though frozen. Raising his shoulder and swinging his left arm, Lu Cheng spread his fingers. His fascias protruded as he dug at his opponent's eyes. Kill him while he's down. But at this moment, Lin Yu, whose eyes were blank, tilted his head and instinctively raised his other arm to block Lu Cheng's grab. He completed the block while his mind was frozen. Indestructible flesh, thoughtless and thoughtless. Lu Cheng clasped her forearm with his 5 fingers. He felt that her arm was soft, tough, and strong. Her strength was enough to tear apart steel plates, but she only tore his sleeve. At the same time, Lin Yu regained consciousness due to his indestructible flesh body's high resistance to mental attacks. He tightened his thighs and whipped out his tiger tail. Like a steel whip made of alloy, he lashed out abruptly and viciously at Lu Cheng. Compared to the Golden Bell Shield, the indestructible flesh body and the body of the unmovable Wisdom King each had their own strengths. It was precisely because of this that Lin Yu dared to be so bold and unafraid of simplified physical invulnerability moves. Bang! Lu Cheng seemed to have anticipated this and let go of his grip in advance. With a burst of strength in his abdomen, he was propelled backwards. In an instant he slid more than 10 meters away, leaving 2 crystal-like tracks on the ground. Lin Yu's kick missed, but he immediately tapped the ground and combined perfectly with the withdrawal and eruption of his qi and blood. He transformed into an eagle soaring in the sky and pounced on Lu Cheng. His shadow covered Lu Cheng's line of sight and figure. This time, there was no room for simplified physical invulnerability moves. Thump! His feet planted firmly on the ground. He swung his right fist and punched out. His left arm followed suit and connected like a machine gun. Boom! 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 His fascia stretched, his joints sprang, and the Dan force in his abdomen erupted like a volcano. Lin Yu's machine punch felt like thousands of cannons were firing at the same time. It was fast, fierce, brilliant, and magnificent. In his eyes, Lu Cheng's pupils suddenly turned red and then purple. He pushed his palms out calmly and blocked the 2 cannonball-like fists. Phew! Lu Cheng opened his mouth and spat out a light purple flame. It merged with the flame stream in his palms and collapsed into a vortex, firmly blocking the enemy's attack. Simplified physical invulnerability move of the fire sect, Purple Sun. Boom! The whirlpool exploded, shooting out purple flames and hitting Lin Yu's body. However, Lin Yu only closed his eyes and took the hit with his body. Shallow burn marks were left all over his body, but they quickly fell off. He was as good as new, without any injuries. Lu Cheng used the rebound of the explosion to pull his waist and back. He leaped more than 10 meters away and out of the range of machine punch. Seeing Lin Yu pouncing on him again, he lowered his arms and shook his wrists, throwing out the white cold light and red flames that were moving close to the ground. At the same time, he swung his center of gravity and bulged his muscles. He forcibly turned around and changed his position with the help of the strong wind. Thump! Thump! It was as if there was a gigantic elephant running on the arena. Lin Yu broke through the cold light and scattered the flames. No matter if it was the cold or the burning heat, he was not affected at all. He was not slowed down at all. His muscles were bulging out of his golden martial arts suit. His muscles were clearly defined, and his body lines were firm. Such a scene and such a body made the blood of the audience boil. They couldn't wait to emulate him. This was the beauty of strength. This was the feeling of battle. Thump! 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 Lu Cheng changed his direction continuously. It was as if the arena was shrouded in thunderclouds. Continuous explosions and strong winds blew. The aftermath even shook the big screen hanging in the air. Flying sand and rolling stones were not enough to describe this scene. This was the power of a demigod. In the next few minutes, Lu Cheng kept changing his tactics. He used Scorch, Burning God, Jet Spray, Snow Expanse, Cold Bite, and Aurora. Unfortunately, none of them caused any substantial damage to Lin Yu. It was like being bitten by a mosquito, completely harmless. However, Polar Ground, which affected the ground and restrained and interfered with the enemy's movements, had some effect, slowing down the enemy's attacks. This match is going to be interesting. In the Longhu Club forum, Outspoken commented, "Yeah, the immortal flesh body is so freakish. It's like a copper pea that can't be steamed, cooked, beaten, or fried." Lu Cheng is going to have a lot to grind. Road to the arena, sighed and agreed. Invincible Punch laughed and said, "Senior Lin is going to participate in extreme survival programs. It will definitely be interesting." In the midst of the battle, Lu Cheng suddenly took a deep breath and swung back a few meters. When Lin Yu pounced on him, he visualized and activated his qi and blood to stimulate the corresponding parts of his body. The blood demon force turned into an arrow and pierced into the head of the giant elephant. Simplified army formula. In that instant, Lin Yu was in a trance. His limbs and head seemed to be tied to different horses. They were running in all directions. He tried his best to resist and prevent himself from being dismembered. However, just as he pulled the horses to a stop, a heavenly weapon shimmering with cold light suddenly slashed down. The cold light cut through his own skin. He shuddered and woke up. Lu Cheng, who was in front of him, threw a punch at the void. Blazing white flames condensed on the surface of his fist. They collapsed to the limit and suddenly exploded. Boom! The light was so bright that it blurred Lin Yu's vision. Numerous fire arrows drilled into his skin, exploding and burning. The 36th move of the fire sect, Devour. Lin Yu's muscles wriggled and his skin contracted. The flames were extinguished inch by inch and didn't have much effect. However, Lu Cheng took advantage of his enemy's confusion and took the initiative to close in. Bam! He punched out from his waist. Before that, he contracted his qi and blood and balanced them into Dan. He kept the burning heat away from the boundary and made the darkness even colder. Self-created unique skill, Lament of the Ice Queen. Lin Yu didn't feel the danger. He punched with absolute reaction, creating an air explosion in the narrow space. Bam! A muffled sound rushed into the sky. Lu Cheng's body swayed backward and maintained his center of gravity. Lin Yu was surrounded by a thick layer of ice, as if he was sealed in a transparent coffin. No matter how strong his body was, he couldn't prevent the surface of his body from freezing. That was the realm of physical invulnerability. Crack, crack. Lin Yu's muscles expanded and broke the ice coffin. However, Lu Cheng took the opportunity to visualize the heavy and scorching Emperor Yen and compress the fire force in his body. Following that, he controlled the violent force with Fire God Zheng. He opened his right arm and punched out like lightning. The 10th move of the fire sect, Simplified Physical Invulnerability, Internal Explosion. Lin Yu's feet were still sealed in ice, so he couldn't dodge. However, he was confident in his body. He shook his arm and punched out. Boom! The force of internal explosion couldn't penetrate completely into the enemy's body. Half of it exploded in his muscles and skin, causing only a slight vibration. The other half penetrated with difficulty, shaking his qi and blood and tumbling his organs. However, this kind of damage was nothing to Lin Yu. His expression didn't change. He pulled his feet and the ice coffin shattered completely. However, Lu Cheng had already activated his qi and blood to stimulate his body. He used the simplified fighting formula. He controlled his body and tightened most of his bulging muscles. He raised his arm and punched down. Bam! As soon as they made contact, Lu Cheng's tightened muscles relaxed. The force of the vibration spread outward, triggering Lin Yu's remaining influence and shaking his body. This was a combination of the simplified fighting formula and Thunder Roar Zen. Lin Yu's body jumped. His muscles shook and slowed down for half a beat. Lu Cheng visualized again and formed the force of internal explosion. He punched out again. Boom, bam, boom, bam. Lu Cheng stretched his back and threw out punch after punch. He combined internal explosion with fighting formula. One caused damage, the other controlled. Lin Yu, who hadn't reached the realm of encountering gods in the void, fell into a passive state. He could only hold on bitterly, unable to find a way to break the situation. Once, twice, thrice, 4, 5. Lu Cheng used the simplified fighting formula 5 times and landed 5 internal explosions on his opponent. If it were any other inhuman mighty one, they would be severely injured even if they didn't die. However, Lin Yu was only bleeding from the corner of his mouth. His condition was deteriorating and he wasn't at his limit yet. However, this way, even if Lu Qing didn't use the simplified fighting formula, his Dan Force explosion and tremor punch could still affect and control Lin Yu's body, which was injured by the recoil. 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. Lu Qing landed another 3 internal explosions on Lin Yu. Every punch landed on flesh with insane strength. The audience's blood boiled. Bam! Lu Qing took a step forward. His eyes were wide open. His body became abnormally tall, like a god descending to earth. He spread his right arm and threw out another internal explosion. Lin Yu, whose eyes were in a daze from the shock, subconsciously raised his arm and blocked. Boom! The sound of an explosion came from within. Lin Yu's muscles trembled. His body stiffened and stopped moving. Lu Qing took the initiative to back away and put some distance between them. The referee raised his right hand and announced loudly, "Lu Qing wins." Lin Yu's lips moved as if he wanted to say something. However, when he opened his mouth, blood spurted out. His entire body fell to the ground like a toppling mountain. Clang! The sound stunned many of the audience. In the Longhu Club forum, Pig Riding Knight said blankly, "What was Lu Qing doing earlier? He would have won earlier." Chapter 560. Similar questions appeared in Lu Cheng's fan forum. Bull Demon King replied in a funny manner, "Maybe it's because I haven't fought for a long time, so I'm a little rusty. It's rare to have such a good opponent. If I don't take the opportunity to practice my newly learned martial arts, how can I face myself?" Unparalleled Dragon King laughed sinisterly. In other words, our Lu Qing wasn't serious at the beginning? Yan Shaoling asked when she didn't understand. A plumber eating mushrooms replied, "Of course he was serious all the time. But most of the time, his purpose was to try and gain experience. Simply speaking, a competition that doesn't aim to win is a hooligan." Okamoto's fan concluded concisely. "If you don't mind, I can use a more vivid metaphor to describe it." "I don't want to hear it." "It's definitely dirty." Covering ears and shaking head expression, replied Brahmin. "Fight, fight, fight." The last few moves were simply awesome. Ageless Old Spear continued to vent his emotions. "Yes, so cool," added Nyechichi. Yan Shaoling replied with a proud expression. Like I said, there's no need to keep a low profile for the current opponents. When has Lu Qing ever disappointed us?" Yes. "All the good names are taken by dogs," replied with a certain meme, then sighed and said, "Speaking of this, I think of Lin Quebec. He should have had a smooth sailing life, but now he can only participate in competitions below the inhuman stage, and the ones that aren't too important. He can only watch the broadcast occasionally." Sigh. "I feel sorry for Lin K. Don't you have a new Adonis?" asked Brahmin curiously. "When did I have a new Adonis?" Confused expression, replied, "All the good names are taken by dogs." Yan Shaoling pointed out, "Didn't you say that Poison Milk Hierarch's hairless style was very cute?" Without waiting for a reply, she replayed the match excitedly. She took a few screenshots of Lu Cheng's handsome and tough moves and was busy collecting and categorizing them for the Squirrel Gang. In the resting room, Tu Jing sat on the sofa with his body bent forward. His right elbow was supporting his thigh and his fist was supporting his chin. He stared intently at the TV screen which was replaying the match. Beep. His phone rang. He received a message from Lu Xiaofei next door. "Leader 2, Lu Qing created that move himself, right?" He had seen him use it during the National University Martial Arts competition in April. Now that he saw it again, he was even more certain of it. Yeah, it should be the result of comprehending boundless starry sky, absolute frost. That move was originally not perfect enough, but for him to come up with something new, it is indeed impressive. Tu Zheng deliberated for a few seconds before replying to Lu Xiaofei. He should be the leader of this generation of inhumans who practice the unique skills of the Ice Sect. I don't know what the Wuyue Club is thinking, but they didn't stop him from joining us. After clicking the send button, Tu Zheng remained silent for a moment before he suddenly sighed. Lu Cheng's performance was more than just awesome. At his current level, after comprehending the Fire Sect's physical invulnerability chapters, it wasn't strange for him to create a move or two. However, for a unique skill to have the power of a simplified physical invulnerability move, that was unimaginable. It was said that Lu Cheng's master had done something similar when he was at the Inhuman stage. He combined the skills of the Thunder Sect and the Ice Sect and created a Tremor Punch. The killer move was a simplified physical invulnerability move, but it was only similar. This was because the killer move was based on the simplified physical invulnerability move of the Ice Sect, Hibernation, with some new additions. As for Lu Cheng's move, it seemed to have been created from nothing. At least, no one had seen anything similar before for those below physical invulnerability. Facing such a heavenly son of the era, even if I could suppress him in terms of strength and realm, I would still feel dejected from time to time. Of course, this was also motivation. In the arena, Lu Cheng saw Lin Yu fall and almost create a huge crater. He hurried over and tried to help him up and send him to the emergency room. He admired this pure-blooded martial artist quite a lot. At this moment, Lin Yu supported himself with his arms and stood up slowly. He wiped the blood from his mouth and gave a thumbs up weakly. Impressive. You almost broke my old bones. Damn, he can still move? He's still alive and kicking? Lu Cheng's mouth was half open. He had forgotten what he wanted to say. He could control the minute details of his body and make precise repairs. If he took 5 internal explosions from someone of the same level, he would be seriously injured and on the verge of death. Other than being sent to the emergency room, he couldn't do anything else. However, Lin Yu took a total of 9 internal explosions and looked like he could still run home. He could barely hold on when all his injuries were detonated. In the blink of an eye, he recovered. The indestructible flesh body was truly perverse. He's really a freaking monster. He's really a demonic beast from Nebula M78, Lu Cheng thought in surprise. However, even the strongest martial arts had its shortcomings. Immortal flesh couldn't produce all kinds of mysterious force. Only the recovery effect and defensibility were insane. Fierce. Each generation is more ruthless than the previous. Lin Yu shook his head with a smile and bowed. He turned around and walked towards the stone steps without a trace of hesitation. At first, he was still staggering. Later on, he was steady. Phew, it's true that I have to experience it personally to be able to grasp the various impressive aspects of the indestructible flesh. Watching videos would only give me a superficial understanding of it, and I wouldn't be able to form a distinct impression of it. Lu Cheng sighed to himself. Amidst the shouts of Lu Cheng from the crowd, he walked down the arena and returned to his exclusive lounge. After sharing the details of the previous battle with Yenjika, Lu Cheng collected himself and controlled his qi and blood. He repaired his body from the minute details and healed the injuries that had just appeared. Half an hour later, he was even able to divert his attention to watch the battles in other matches. In the afternoon, he filled his stomach with Tu Zheng and Lu Xiaofei at the restaurant attached to the Guanhai Martial Arts Stadium. After that, he slept for about 40 minutes. After that, his essence, qi, spirit, will, and body were back to their peak and ready for another battle. This was the benefit of combining the all-seeing God realm and the wholeness formula. In the afternoon, he watched the battles of Tu Zheng, Lu Xiaofei, and the rest of his teammates in the resting room. He took turns to ponder about the other popular matches and had a great discussion with his wife. During this process, Chaoyang sent him a good news. He said that he had encountered a 5th pin inhuman. After a tough battle, he finally won by a hair's breadth and didn't embarrass himself by being eliminated in the first round. As for Peng Liyun, who was fighting in the last match in the afternoon, with the help of the encountering gods in the void, self-reflection realm, his wave after wave, godly skill had taken another step forward. Surprisingly, he did not face the predicament of nearly losing. From start to finish, everything was under his control. He seems to be a little stronger than me again. Lu Qing smacked his lips. In the evening at the Sky Moon Martial Arts Stadium, Renli went up the stage and displayed the all-seeing god, Realm. She won without a doubt. This made Lu Qing feel an inexplicable pressure. Those two guys are improving at lightning speed. I can't be left behind again after working so hard to catch up. Full of energy, he returned to the hotel with Tu Zheng and Lu Xiaofei, who had also won. For the rest of the day, other than training and eating, Lu Qing didn't leave the room. As there were too many popular matches to pay attention to, there were piles of videos he wanted to watch, and there were too many details to figure out. He didn't have the time to wander around. Yenjika was always very interested in such things. She seemed to have put herself in her shoes and was also participating in the Battle of the Kings. She chatted enthusiastically with Lu Qing. After the first round ended, there was a day's rest. Lu Qing was still holed up in the hotel, researching the competitors who were stronger than him. He was so busy that he didn't even have time to play games. He picked up his phone and replied to his little fairy. Just as he was about to put it down, he suddenly received a notification that he had been added to a discussion group. "Let's meet up tonight?" asked in Chaoyang. This time, he had learned his lesson and formed the Lin Fu food group. "Another day. I still have a bunch of battle videos to watch. Let's meet up after the double elimination round," replied Peng Liyun, who had changed his nickname to Physics Laborer. +1. Ren Li added. Lu Qing looked at the video on his tablet and replied with a laughing expression, "What a coincidence. Damn it, a bunch of youths who are addicted to battle videos." In this rhythm of life, it was already evening. The organizing committee announced the matchups. From the second round onwards, someone would be given a bye. After 3 rounds, there would be exactly 64 fighters left. "I want to advance straight away, but I also want to have a real fight. What a conflicting feeling." Lu Qing scrolled down the page and found the name of his opponent. Sky Moon Martial Arts Stadium, 5th match tonight, Longhu Club, Lu Qing vs. Daxing Temple, Ji Tong. Ji Tong? I heard that he was quite famous. In his generation, he was only inferior to Wisdom King Ji Hai and senior brother Ji Ren. Lu Qing was stunned at first, but was immediately overjoyed. Finally, he could witness the strength of a direct disciple of Daxing Temple. Half an hour later, he received a message from Yenjika while he was studying the video of Ji Tong's match. It was a link to a news article. He clicked on it. Ji Tong was stopped by the official reporter of Battle of the Kings, outside the Zen temple where he lived. He accepted the interview. He put his palms together and said, "Namo Amitba. A monk doesn't lie. This humble monk wants to win against almsgiver Lu." The video ended and the reporter commented, "He also has the strength to win." Chapter 561. After the news ended, it switched back to the anchor. He chuckled and said, "As you can see, Ji Tong, Peng Liyun, and Ren Li's opponents all express their desire to win. The reputation of the heavenly son of the era is both a compliment and a pressure. When others meet you, they will be filled with fighting spirit. A tree that stands out in the forest will be blown away by the wind. A person who is stronger than others will be ridiculed by the crowd. Defeating a heavenly son of the era is definitely something to be proud of and engraved in people's minds. Let's wipe our eyes and wait patiently. This live streamer is pretty good. Just a few words and she's able to make people's blood boil." Lu Qing praised in his heart. He replied to Ku calmly, "But I want to win too. What should I do?" He added with a confused emoji. Yenjika patted his shoulder and said, "Comrade Lu Qing, I believe you can win as long as you don't act recklessly." Lu Qing had told his fairy about the divine art of recklessness as a joke. He didn't expect her to remember it immediately. "How would I dare? He's a direct disciple of Daxing Temple," Lu Qing said. Yenjika rested her chin on her hand and said, "Based on my understanding of you, you will act recklessly when facing a direct disciple of Daxing Temple. Don't you want to see the Buddhist Zen arts? Don't you want to see the 2 secret arts of Vajra and womb accumulation? Who knows me best?" Lu Qing sent a crying face emoji. It's okay. Act recklessly. You should at least leave me something to laugh at for the rest of my life. Let's talk about Ji Tong. He mainly cultivates the Vajra secret arts. Once he advances to physical invulnerability, his body will be able to evolve the body of the Vajra. Other than that, he's also good at various secret arts derived from the Vajra seal and the Vajra secret arts, as well as the Dan stage martial arts from the Great Light Scripture. He has also mastered the 6-syllable Sanskrit mantra. But don't worry, it's said that his Zen mind isn't pure, so he wasn't able to cultivate the weakened version of thought steel. Lu Qing nodded slightly and started to talk with Ku. At the end of the conversation, he asked curiously, "Does Daxing Temple have any forbidden arts?" "It's the leading Buddhist sect." "Yes, but I don't know what it's called." "In any case, it's able to cultivate the Vairocana body," Yen Zhika recalled. According to her description, the Daxing Temple had a taboo divine art to suppress it. It was divided into the Great Light Scripture, the Womb Realm, and the Vajra Realm. Each of them derived the content of the Dan stage. The next day, Lu Qing trained and studied videos during the day and headed to the Sky Moon Martial Arts Stadium at night. At this point in time, other than in Chaoyang, who lost the competition as expected, Peng Liyun, Rin Li, Tu Zheng, Meng Liang and the other popular contestants had all successfully advanced to the next round. This added a lot of pressure to him. After a while, he finished his adjustments and left the lounge. Under the guidance of the staff, he walked along the path of glory and walked towards the central arena. Amidst the cheers of the crowd, Lu Qing finished climbing the stone steps and saw Ji Tong. He was wearing a gray monk's robe and his scalp was gray. His eyes were more black than white, giving him a gloomy look. The great Vidranath was also known as the Devil Dekka. After they nodded to each other, the referee did not wait any longer. He raised his right hand and shouted, "Conversation time starts now." Ji Tong put his palms together in front of his chest and said softly, "Almsgiver Lu, I believe you have seen the interview I accepted last night?" His tone was calm and did not show any signs of aggression. "Yes, but anyone would want to win." "There's nothing strange about it," replied Lu Qing calmly. Ji Tong nodded slightly and laughed softly. "All this while, Master Abbot and my master thought that I was too competitive and had hindered the progress of Buddhism. I want to prove to them that fighting can also make one a Buddha." He said the last few words in a rhythmic tone. The gloominess in his eyes faded away and was replaced by a golden glow. A strong desire to fight came from the bottom of his heart. There was even a hint of his original intention. At this moment, the Ji Tong in Lu Qing's eyes suddenly grew taller. His expression was solemn and dignified. He could intimidate and subdue external demons and make people cower in fear. At the same time, the golden glow around him spread out in circles and illuminated the entire arena. It was both holy and compassionate, causing many in the audience to have the urge to worship him. Awe-inspiring on the inside and the light of Buddha on the outside. Pressure assaulted his heart and his aura interfered with his mind. Lu Qing quickly reined in his thoughts and turned water into ice. He turned the lake into a mirror and settled all the negative feelings so that they would no longer rise and fall. A cold wind seemed to blow past the arena. Amidst the coldness was the true meaning of blood fiend formed from thousands of killings. It was as though an apocalyptic blizzard was about to arrive. The light of Buddha dimmed slightly and rippled in all directions. It withstood the terrifying blizzard softly but tenaciously, like a lantern that illuminated the path to return home on a snowy night. The battle of auras was evenly matched. Ji Tong retracted his gaze and no longer looked at Lu Qing. His lips moved as he began chanting scriptures. It went from soft to silent and grew louder and louder. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Lu Qing felt as though there were 1,000 monks chanting Buddhist scriptures while knocking on wooden fish. Amidst the noise, there was a sense of transcendence. It caused cracks to form on his ice mirror and the lake to ripple. Can conversation time be used like this? Lu Qing's eyes darkened. He took control of his body with the stance of all-seeing God. Thump, thump, thump. His heartbeat grew louder and louder. It contained the whistling of the blizzard and the swinging of weapons. Thump, thump, thump. Ji Tong felt his heartbeat quicken involuntarily, resonating with Lu Cheng's chest more than 20 meters away. His blood flow was impeded and his head was spinning. Just as the two were exchanging blows across the air, the referee raised his arm and waved his hand. He announced loudly, "Begin!" The second round of the Battle of the Kings preliminaries had officially begun. Kacha! Ji Tong took a step forward and stepped on the lotus flower. In an instant he was 5 meters away from Lu Cheng. The light of Buddha around him had yet to dissipate. Without stopping, he shook his right arm. His palm seemed heavy but was actually swift. His skin was golden as though cast from brass. It was the great Vajra palm derived from the Vajra seal of the Vajra sect. Bam! This palm strike solidified the air in front of it, causing it to condense inch by inch into a steel plate that headed straight for Lu Cheng. The second attack was the chi followed by the palm strike. This way, if the enemy tried to parry, the air current steel plate would consume most of his strength, giving the subsequent Great Vajra palm a huge advantage. Lu Cheng didn't move around. He calmly withdrew his chi and blood and exploded his Dan force. Then he pulled his arm, bulged his muscles, and threw a punch at the solidified air current. Bam! The steel plate scattered and the air current turned into waves. A pale golden palm struck out from the eye of the storm and was about to hit Lu Cheng's fist. Without much resistance from his opponent, Ji Tong could shatter the bones of a martial artist of the same level with a single palm strike. At this moment, a muffled explosion sound came from Lu Cheng's fist and wrist. His exhausted attack was rejuvenated and moved forward another inch. The 15th style of the fire sect, jet spray. This was another type of application. Bam! The pale golden palm shook as if it was about to shatter. At this moment, Ji Tong extended his other hand from his waist. Fast as lightning, he curled his forefingers and extended his thumb to poke at his opponent's abdomen. The pale golden light of Buddha turned into two colors, pure, clear, dangerous, and terrifying. Vajra seal, demon vanquishing finger. It was good at breaking through the hard and could restrain divine kung fu like golden bell shield and immortal flesh to a certain extent. Lu Cheng's stance was perfect. His left fist didn't lose its position. He swung his arm down, bringing with it a blazing fire. Just as his fist came into contact with the thumb glowing in red and green, the flames immediately extinguished as if they had never appeared. The strike that could split gold and stone didn't produce a shattering sound. Logically speaking, a clenched fist should have the upper hand against a finger. However, Ji Tong's demon vanquishing finger was so hard that it seemed to have stepped into the realm of Vajra. Bam! Failing to hit, Ji Tong swung his right arm as if he was waving a monk's staff. With layers of pale golden light of Buddha, he smashed it in front of Lu Cheng. It seemed like he was going to smash Lu Cheng's body and block. Vajra sect, Mad Devil's pestle derived from the secret arts of might. Lu Cheng didn't have time to dodge or perform force concentration. He shifted his center of gravity, straightened his back, and swung his arm upwards. His fist rubbed against the air as he put on the unusually heavy red gloves of flame. The 13th move of the fire sect, Scorch. Boom! An explosion swept outwards. Lu Cheng's fist pressed against Ji Tong's forearm. The golden skin caved in as the light of Buddha and rain of fire fell. Immediately after, Ji Tong's arm swung back while Lu Cheng's fist swung back. Their tendons and meridians were sore and had to be relieved. Ji Tong took a deep breath and resisted the negative effects with the body of might and wisdom. He raised his left arm, turned his palm into a knife, and chopped down at high speed. Bam bam bam. He swung left and right, slashing several times consecutively. Every slash left afterimages behind. They were as fast as lightning and as nimble as a blooming lotus. However, they still couldn't break through Lu Cheng's inner line of defense. With the ice mirror on him, he could predict in advance. Be it with his fists, palms, arms, or elbows, his defense was impenetrable. Bam bam bam. Ji Tong's palms chopped faster and faster. In the end, the heat generated by the high-speed friction ignited the air. Womb Hidden Sect, Guardian Azure Fire Chapter, Blazing Divine Saber. With a leap, the crimson flames spread and burned towards Lu Cheng from every part of the palms, forming a net of fire. Lu Cheng's eyes were illuminated by the flames. His palms were mixed in as he took advantage of the chaos to attack. Faced with such a situation, he wasn't surprised. Instead, he was delighted. He casually threw out a punch. The crimson flames converged on the surface of his fist and collapsed inward, absorbing the surrounding flames. In an instant, it reached its limit and suddenly exploded. Boom! The blazing white light blurred Ji Tong's vision. The flames that were burning towards Lu Cheng rolled back with the wind and waves, surrounding him. The 36th style of the fire sect, Devour. Emperor Yen force had always interfered with the flames of others. Emperor Yen, the sovereign of fire. Lu Cheng lowered his body and was about to approach Ji Tong to give him a severe warning or lament of the Ice Queen. However, at this moment, a grand, solemn, and sacred Buddhist voice suddenly rang in his ears. Ma! Once the voice was heard, heaven and earth seemed to be connected. The surrounding airflow contracted and turned into a swamp, forming a cage. It froze the flames and restrained Lu Cheng. 6 syllables of Sanskrit mantra, Ma syllable. Lu Cheng knew he was in trouble the moment he froze. Seeing that he couldn't throw a punch, he immediately redirected his chi and blood, expanded his muscles, and used pure strength to break free from the entanglement. Bam bam bam. The sound of the airflow barrier breaking rang out continuously. At this moment, Ji Tong's vision had recovered. He formed a new seal with his hands. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he exhaled solemnly and said, Ba. His voice reverberated in the surroundings. The Buddhist light shone brightly. Under the guidance of a mysterious force, they formed 4 arms on Ji Tong's shoulders. 4 illusory, dark blue, terrifying, and exaggerated arms. At the same time, Ji Tong's expression showed obvious anger. His muscles bulged and his skin turned from pale gold to blue. He looked gloomy and powerful. Wisdom King transformation, propelled by the Ba syllable. This was a killer move that Ji Tong, who was highly talented in battle, had painstakingly created. It was one of the top 3 simplified physical invulnerability moves of various sects. The only downside was that it took a long time to prepare. Therefore, he had to find an opportunity to trap Lu Cheng with the Ma syllable. And this opportunity was created by Ji Tong from the very beginning. How could he not know that Lu Cheng had Emperor Yen force and mastered the Dan stage chapter of the fire sect? He was waiting for Lu Cheng to counterattack and mess up the situation. Bam bam bam. Ji Tong took a step forward. His fists and the 4 new arms smashed towards Lu Cheng, who had just broken free from the restraints. There was no fancy move, just a flurry of blows. Lu Cheng's eyes narrowed. Before his opponent took a step forward, he had already outlined the ancient word. He formed a seal with both hands, aimed it at himself, and shouted, Fighting! The complete fighting formula. 9 words formula versus 6 words mantra. The outline of his muscles was shocking. Lu Cheng leaned back, raised his arms, and swung them horizontally. Boom! The 6 arms smashed down. The airflow was blown apart. Lu Cheng's body swayed as he felt the surging power. His arms trembled and were about to break. Without the combination of simplified physical invulnerability moves, the fighting formula was still lacking. Lu Cheng had no choice but to twist his back and push his legs inward. With superior control, he directed the unbearable external force to the ground. Crack! He lowered his body and both his legs sank into the arena, up to 2 inches above his ankles. What kind of terrifying power was this? What kind of exaggerated effect was this? In the Longhu Club, Optimus Prime Longjin wiped the sweat off his forehead as he walked out of the volcano laboratory. He saw Dragon King, Qin Chitao, watching the battle between Lu Cheng and Ji Tong. Wisdom King transformation? Longjin took a glance and clicked his tongue. It's just a pretty face, Qin Chitao commented succinctly. Longjin smiled and didn't say a word. This was the Dragon King's attitude towards the various forms of Wisdom King and God spirits. From his point of view, the formation of 4 arms and 3 heads was a requirement of the Buddhist and Taoist sects when they preached. It was to shock the masses and gather believers. However, in a real battle, it would appear to be a waste of energy. If he had the time, he could just form them into spheres. Not only would it take less time to prepare for the 3 heads and 6 arms Wisdom King transformation, but the effect could also be concentrated, increasing the power by at least 20%. Under the guidance of this philosophy, the secret arts of the fire sect that he inherited from the Taoist sect were modified beyond recognition. He was often mocked by warrior sages for being a tortoise puncher. Lu Cheng's qi and blood were churning violently, his muscles were trembling. His legs were trapped in the limestone. For a moment, Lu Cheng couldn't pull them out. His right arm's skin turned black, and his bones and tendons were extremely sore. He temporarily lost the ability to exert force. Ji Tong retracted his angry form and became solemn again. He clasped his palms together. Under the guidance of visualization, he gathered all the remaining Buddha's light in the center of his closed palms. He was going to use the simplified physical invulnerability move from the Great Light Scripture, Tathagata's finger, to clinch victory. This was also a move that was hard to defend against. It was extremely taxing on the body. However, once it hit the enemy, even if the enemy had the indestructible flesh body, they would still be penetrated if they hadn't reached physical invulnerability. However, the preparation time was too long, and the signs were obvious. If he hadn't stopped Lu Cheng on the spot, Ji Tong wouldn't have wasted the time to use it. As for now, it was time to finish it in one fell swoop. Dong dong dong. Lu Cheng's heart raced as he sensed a strong sense of danger. He couldn't be bothered to clean up his wounds and regroup. He seized the time to visualize the deep and cold dark universe and the heavy great sun that was finally ignited by the accumulation of dust. Mutated version of severe warning. At this moment, Ji Tong opened his palms slightly and a crack appeared. An extremely bright laser shot out like the finger of Mahavairakana, heading straight for Lu Cheng's lower abdomen. Such speed was comparable to lightning, not something a human could achieve. Therefore, if Lu Cheng didn't dodge in advance, he wouldn't be able to dodge it. The referee wouldn't be able to save him either. It was because of this that Ji Tong didn't choose a vital part. However, just as his closed palms were about to split open, Lu Cheng seemed to have a premonition. He swung his left arm downwards and smashed his fist. Darkness enveloped him. The laser hit the surface of his fist and dissipated instantly, leaving only a faint mark of fire. Ji Tong's pupils shrank as if they were needles. Didn't Tathagata's fingers say it could even penetrate the indestructible flesh body? Lu Cheng's calm appearance was only on the surface. His left fist had already suffered some damage. His fascia was in chaos, his muscles were torn, and his bones were almost broken. The force that was supposed to rebound and explode could only dissipate as he swung his fist. As expected of the heavenly son of the era. As Lu Cheng swung his fist, Ji Tong secretly used the Weng formula, using the sword of wisdom to sever the fear and hesitation in his heart and shake off his emotional turmoil. He formed another hand seal and said solemnly, "Oh." It was as if something from heaven and earth had entered his body and stimulated it. His qi and blood surged and reached the pinnacle again. At this moment, Ji Tong hadn't reached his limit and still had a lot of stamina. However, he still used the OM formula in advance. Only by maintaining his peak condition and suppressing his opponent would he have a chance of defeating the injured Lu Cheng. If he dragged it out to his limit, there would be many variables in between. He might even be at a disadvantage and lose the opportunity to use it. Saving your trump card for last was the stupidest choice. In the blink of an eye, Ji Tong's condition was refreshed. Once again, he emitted circles of Buddha's light. Seeing Lu Cheng break free from the bluestone trap, he slid forward and approached him. At this moment, Lu Cheng had already controlled his injuries with the encountering gods in the void realm. His qi and blood circulated, stimulating his body and expanding his fascia. Half of his muscles tightened, ready to strike. Simplified fighting formula combined with thunder roar zen. Bam! Lu Cheng swung his arm and punched at Ji Tong, who had just recovered to his peak condition. Ji Tong struck out with his palm. His pale golden palm hit his opponent's fist. Bam! Lu Qing tightened his muscles in a hurry. His strength suddenly exploded at a single point, causing a strong vibration. Ji Tong's body jumped slightly. His organs shook, but his movements didn't slow down. Lu Qing circulated his qi and blood again, using the simplified fighting formula. He tightened his muscles again and struck out with Thunder Roar Zen. Bam bam bam. He spread his arms and swung them with every step. With one fighting roar and one thunder roar, his body became abnormally tall. It was as if the thunder god had descended and was swinging his electric hammer left and right. There was nothing fancy about it. It was pure strength and pure oppression. Bam bam bam. Ji Tong couldn't find a gap in his opponent's tight rhythm and could only block. After a few consecutive strikes, his qi and blood were in serious turmoil. His organs were shaking and his muscles were trembling, making it difficult for him to exert force. Huiyue Province, Moshang. Seeing this, Geezer sure clicked his tongue and said, "This brat finally has some of the demeanor of, ahem, the old me when I killed an inhuman with 19 Thunder Roar Zen." After 5 punches, Lu Qing slowed down and changed his rhythm. Taking advantage of the fact that Ji Tong's eyes were still unfocused and the vibration hadn't been suppressed, he made the thundercloud appear in the darkness and let the sound break the ice. Bam! He struck again, smashing down from above. This time, it was slightly different from before. Severe warning. This was necessary to control the rhythm of the battle and also because his fighting formula had reached its limit. Bam! Ji Tong instinctively blocked with the Vajra palm. His vision turned black and he felt cold all over. He seemed to have lost consciousness. Lu Qing took half a step forward and visualized Emperor Yen, compressing his fire force. His eyes widened as if the fire god Zhurong had appeared in the void. He punched out with his left fist, aiming for Ji Tong's waist. Boom! Ji Tong's mind was stabilized with a hum, and he quickly broke free from the freezing of his thoughts. He barely managed to block the attack, but the power of the implosion completely triggered the tremors that he had been painstakingly suppressing. His organs and tendons were also damaged, and his legs that wanted to dodge temporarily lost their strength. As his body trembled, Lu Qing straightened his back and threw a punch. It was the same size, the same power, and the same internal explosion. Because of his encountering gods in the void realm, his internal explosion punch was much simpler and shorter. He could now take advantage of his opponent's delay due to the vibration and injuries. After a boom, Lu Qing raised his left arm and raised his right fist again. Another internal explosion and Dan Tian, not giving his opponent any time to adjust. Boom! Ji Tong's palm pressed against his lower abdomen. He felt something exploding in his body. His mind buzzed and his vision turned red. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. His body went limp and fell onto Lu Qing's raised arm. The same question echoed in his mind. But why is it that even though I'm back at my peak, I'm not as good as I was in the first half of the battle? Lu Qing turned his fist into a palm and supported Ji Tong firmly. The referee's voice rang in his ears. Lu Qing wins. It's like a bug in the system. Lu Qing can easily take down any opponent who isn't in the same realm as him. Long Zhen shook his head and laughed, standing tall like a mountain. That little monk is too stupid. He actually went head-to-head with an opponent with all-seeing God. At some point, Ning Zitong had appeared in the control room of the laboratory. Chapter 562. Ah! If the heavenly son of the age could be defeated so easily, he wouldn't be the heavenly son of the age. It doesn't matter how pumped up he is. As soon as the match ended, Brahmin began to post comments in Lu Cheng's fan forum. She was in the most leisurely stage of her life after graduating from junior high school. A heavenly son of the era should be the one to make his opponents, who are full of fighting spirit and explosive seed, lose without any temper. A plumber eating mushrooms echoed. The realm of all-seeing God has greatly increased my combat strength. Unparalleled Dragon King replied absent-mindedly. Eternal Nightfall Yen Shaoling said, setting off firecrackers expression, let's not talk about these useless things. Let's go crazy together. Get your hands ready and prepare your precious resources. What resources do you have? Laughing sinisterly expression, Okamoto's fan said. I have resources from all kinds of old and young idols starring in TV series. More than 2 Ts. Motherf asterisk Kerr, I used to put it on the internet and almost lost it. Yen Shaoling replied with a crying expression. You just defeated Ji Tong. What resources do you have to share? The real opponents are still to come. Not to mention the old grandpas, there are still Ji Ren, Meng Liang, Go Wen, Wang Xian, Ren Li, Zheng Shiduo, and Peng Lin. You might meet them in the 3rd round. Even if you don't, you won't be able to avoid them in the double elimination round of the top 64. Unparalleled Dragon King stopped Yen Xiaoling's celebration. Let's celebrate after we defeat one of them. Actually, it doesn't matter. Other than Ren Li and Peng Lin, the rest have been at the inhuman stage for a few years. It's normal to lose to them. I have a good mentality. Rolling expression, Yen Shaoling said. In the resting room of the Guanhai Martial Arts Stadium, a monk in a gray robe was watching the battle between Lu Cheng and Ji Tong. His face was thin and oval, with a broad forehead and drooping eyes. He was Daxing Temple's senior brother, Ji Ren, who was said to be a mighty one who could reach physical invulnerability within a year. After pondering for a while, he suddenly stood up and stepped on the ground. His body swayed backward like a piece of paper, as though he was trying to avoid the consecutive attacks of the illusory Lu Cheng. The resting room was small. He quickly retreated to the wall and then to the ceiling, as though he was stepping out of a lotus flower. Retreating in order to advance. In the presidential suite of a 5-star hotel, a girl with 2 braids stared at the TV screen, replaying the scene of Lu Cheng defeating Ji Tong over and over again. She looked ordinary, but her eyes were bright. She had some Miao blood in her. She was about 25 or 26 years old. She was the proud disciple of the Black Tortoise sect, Go Wen. After a moment of serious contemplation, Go Wen put down her feet and stood in the middle of the living room. She pushed out her palms heavily and interweaved a dense network. The sound of water was vast and mighty, like a surging river. Lu Cheng's attack was only a few iron chains. They could stop the ship, but they couldn't stop the current. She stopped and adjusted from time to time. Gradually, the girl felt more confident. In a certain room on the 33rd floor of Wanhua Hotel, Tu Zheng held the remote control in his hand. His gaze was unfocused as he stared ahead. His mind was filled with images of Lu Cheng's continuous thundering zen and internal explosion. How should he deal with it? After thinking for a while, he retracted his gaze and regained his composure. He put down the remote control and walked to the desk with an empty space. He lowered his waist and got into position. As the flames burned his body, his potential was stimulated. Sounds of tendons stretching and bones popping could be heard from Tu Zheng's body. He grew taller in an instant. Bang, bang, bang. He controlled his strength and swung his fist forward. In his imagination, this was a combination of explosive secret arts and flaming cannon punch. He was going to fight Lu Cheng head-on and tremors against tremors. In the end, it would be internal explosion against internal explosion to see who could last the longest. They were both in the realm of encountering gods in the void, but he, who was close to attaining physical invulnerability, was clearly superior to Lu Cheng. Rather than battle strength, it was better to compete in levels. While the popular fighters were imagining how to overcome the situation, Lu Cheng bowed and watched as Ji Tong was helped to the emergency room. His injuries weren't fatal, but they were serious enough. In comparison, Lin Yu, who could leave on his own after taking 9 internal explosions, was like a transformer. His qi and blood circulated slowly, stimulating a certain part of his body. Lu Cheng, whose mind was empty, was full of energy again. Both his arms and fists were badly injured, and there were some internal injuries as well. He had to quickly control the fine details and mend the cracks, so as not to miss the best opportunity and affect the competition the day after tomorrow. This also required an abundance of energy to control the realm of all-seeing God. Hence, He secretly used the simplified wholeness formula. After secretly mending, Lu Cheng walked down the stone steps amidst the thunderous cheers and took back his phone and other items from the competition supervisor. Just as his screen lit up and he logged into the app, he saw a message from Yenjika. "What a pity! You almost lost. Shouldn't you be happy that I won the competition?" Lu Cheng slowed down and replied with a laugh. Yenjika replied shyly, "I'm a little disappointed. I didn't even have the chance to laugh at you." "Only a little disappointed. That means you're mostly happy?" Lu Cheng pointed out with a smile. Yenjika replied, covering face expression and sighing expression, "Don't expose me." At this moment, the official reporter of Battle of the Kings walked over and blocked Lu Cheng's path with a smile. He smiled and said, "I finally have the chance to interview you." Not every match had an interview after the match. "Still 3 questions?" Lu Cheng asked with a smile. "Yes." The reporter with a longer face pondered and said, "In the match between you and Ji Tong, why were you on par with him in the first half and even at a disadvantage? Why did you suppress him in the second half and leave him no chance?" Lu Cheng thought about it seriously and said, "I didn't participate in the competition purely to win. I also hoped to learn more while winning. I wanted to see different kinds of martial arts and increase my accumulation. The secret arts of Daxing Temple are indeed extraordinary. I almost lost." "Really?" "I see." The reporter nodded slowly. After a few seconds, she suddenly froze and realized something. Lu Cheng's high-sounding explanation, in other words, was equivalent to him not being serious at the beginning because he wanted to experience more of Daxing Temple's secret arts? He made it sound so reasonable that even I was sucked in. Well, it's not right to say that he wasn't serious. He just didn't try to seize the initiative and complete the absolute suppression at the beginning. Of course, this kind of thing couldn't be said directly. If Ji Tong was really pissed off, it wouldn't look good when he met the people of Daxing Temple in the future. The reporter didn't harp on the previous question. She smiled and said, "Congratulations on entering the 3rd round of the preliminaries. At this stage, there's a small chance that you'll be matched against those popular mighty ones. What do you think? What else can I do? Fight. I can't deny that many of them are stronger than me. I can only do my best to grasp this slim chance." Lu Cheng smiled calmly. "If I can win one, it's a holiday. If I can win 2, it's a New Year's holiday. Neither arrogant in victory nor discouraged in defeat." The reporter praised from the bottom of his heart. After the interview, Lu Cheng returned to the resting room and focused on controlling his body. He planned to take the club's hired car to the underground parking lot before all the matches ended tonight. That way, it wouldn't be too congested. In the stands, a young man with black hair mixed with silver suddenly stood up. He squeezed from the center of the row to the edge like a fish and walked towards the washroom. He knew that his chance to get the Jindan had come. It wasn't that he didn't have the confidence to take down Lu Cheng in his best condition. However, it would definitely be troublesome. Once the battle dragged on, it would be full of variables. Regardless of Huaqing or Linfu, there was no lack of mighty ones with physical invulnerability. When the time came, he would be the one in trouble. During the first round, Lu Cheng was competing in the morning. He could rest in the inhuman environment and only leave when he was back to his peak. Furthermore, he was accompanied by his teammates, so he didn't dare to act rashly. Along the way, he had forged his identity, sat in an unlicensed car, stayed in a small hotel, and even under a bridge. He had been waiting for this day as a vagrant. Now, Lu Cheng was exhausted after the battle. He might even be injured. Furthermore, it was night time. He definitely had to go back to the hotel to rest. Gu Tong wore an ordinary black t-shirt and casual pants. He disappeared from the washroom corridor without attracting any attention. He had covered all his emotions and thoughts with a secret technique so as to avoid triggering his ability to sense danger. With one more round to go, Lu Cheng opened his eyes. His injuries were about 50 to 60% better. He yawned, packed his things, and walked towards the private elevator on the other side, preparing to head to the underground parking lot. This time, There was an inhuman senior who had transferred to a management position at the Sky Moon Martial Arts Stadium. He was also competing at the same time, so he would be returning to the hotel with him. However, he was already in the car, waiting for him. Pressing the button to open the elevator, Lu Cheng stepped in and pressed -2. After a short wait, the elevator went down. When it reached -1, it paused again. The doors slowly opened to reveal a young man in a black t-shirt with white hair. So familiar, I think I've seen him before. Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat, and his pupils shrank rapidly. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.